I do have recording stuff going if you guys are still interested in that.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
I tried to
I
pull up the
wasn't sure if
last
you would.
tides, and I'm like, fuck, we never recorded that, did we? I was so excited to listen to
No,
the
we
last one.
started with.
I'm like, man.
Yeah.
Oh well.
I know. You and me both.
Yeah.
Like,
Should have just done it
if
from the
there's
start.
one thing that I really needed to remember, it's what Visick said in the last 5 minutes of the very last
Right.
session.
Yeah.
But that's okay. There's gonna be one retcon for that scene that won't affect any of you guys. Just doesn't make sense for Gael's son to be there. I don't know how he would have gotten there. I don't need. I think I may have just put his token in there by mistake, and it just stayed in while you guys were playing. I don't know.
Just walks in. Hey, fuckers.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's like close to death. He's like
I know.
minutes away from dying. Like 30% of his blood has been sapped from his body. He's just like chilling out in the woods
Right.
with you guys.
You guys saved me and then pretty much brought me back. Right.
Honestly, dude, if you hadn't said if you hadn't done that sheet with all of the NPCs and been like, "Oh yeah, this is Gael's son," don't you remember? I would not have remembered.
Yeah.
I remember I remember the story beat about it.
Yeah,
but I didn't remember actually encountering his son.
I remember when we were in the other realm. I remember that, but I didn't remember about the cages and stuff.
I'll actually send you guys over there. Aaron, there's if you want to hop over to Roll20, there is a full character roster that I have been working on.
Okay.
That as you encounter new people, they will start populating on this map. I don't have Fern or Teth on here yet because I haven't figured out how I want to reconfigure it. So Trent and Billy are not on there right now.
Key adversaries.
Maybe past
A lot of potential key adversaries and a lot of potential key allies.
Maybe they're giants in the unnamed section.
There are no allies in a Barlos game. We know it.
There are, but they just start as key adversaries.
Every single hero that Barlos makes lives long enough to become the villain.
You just need to put a question mark after key allies.
Allies? Asterisk or something. Michael Barlos does not claim to have any true allies for the team. Little fine print.
Yeah, I have never claimed that. The only ones that I've tried to keep like on the up and up are the characters that I pulled from your backstories. Like, I don't want to bastardize anything that you guys have written, but anything that I have made, fair game. They will fuck you at moment's notice.
I did see a good joke, good joke meme that was playing to the either live long enough become the villain. It was making fun of porn, so it was like die a stepsister or live long enough become a stepmother.
Oh god. Yeah.
The same actresses who play like both at some point.
Yeah. That's great.
Chef's kiss.
So fucking funny.
What are you doing here? Your dad's not home. I was just in here making pies, apple turnovers.
Oh no, my hand got stuck in the dryer. Have you seen the one account that makes fun of all the porn scenarios?
Oh,
I've seen a couple of TikToks, yeah.
It's like I know their big ones are like the dryer one, and then when he comes over as like a plumber, and he just stays like super technical as a plumber. He's like,
I've seen the mechanic one,
yeah.
where she's trying to like flirt with him, and he's like, no, your tires are bald. That means you Get new tires.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a way I can figure out to pay you. I mean, we do have like a payment plan. You could pay us over a few months, but it's only like $30. So
Oh, that's so funny.
the one with the pipes, she just kept like, um, she kept talking about like her pipes, and then she's like, maybe I should check out your pipes. He's like, well, I mean, I do my own plumbing. It doesn't really make much sense for you to come over.
Are you
and do that.
also a plumber? That's so weird. If you are, why did you call me? Oh, Aaron's gone. I was gonna have him roll health.
Well, that means he gets a 0.
Yeah, 2 levels at 0 health. Not even lowest level. Not even lowest roll.
I gotta figure out what dice I need for this character.
This was the
Aaron, do
first
you want to roll health?
Yeah. In roll 20.
2d12, please. Yes.
being silly.
Oh, it's been a minute. 6 it is.
You're being silly.
You get 2d12 because you're going up to.
Oh.
Or did you already level up to 11? Did you already?
When I logged in, it said I was 11.
Right. Did you roll health for that? I don't think we
remember.
did last time. We did not during the last campaign.
Okay.
It looks like Platt did.
Let me.
Well, yeah, he rolled everything.
Ah, boo.
Re-roll it.
Slutty.
Okay.
Re-roll it.
Yeah. Come
Okay.
on. Much better.
Oh, yeah, much better.
Oh, hey.
Add that sweet 15 on there.
Hey. Go there with your mom.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Stop it. You don't know how to write. Stop taking my pens.
All right. While we're waiting for Brad, because Billy's going to be late.
It's so dusty.
Excuse me.
Why did Brad take a shower after 6 o'clock?
Well, he works at 11.
Oh, gotcha. That
Plus,
makes sense.
Brad taking a shower is like literally a 2-hour thing.
Oh, jeez. Good. Let's go through your bloodied conditions so we can get those out of the way.
Okay.
Who wants to go first?
Stay down.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought about this a couple days, and then I completely forgot about it because stuff happened at the end of the week. But I will bounce some ideas off of you, brainstorm.
Okay.
I was
As long as we do it
thinking.
before next Monday.
I was
Or
thinking.
we can do it now. Doesn't matter.
Almost like a. So what I was imagining is, Urzak getting hurt, and instead of like, basically him, instead of trying to like be smart and tactical and like retreat or hunker down, that he would instead see it as like, oh, we're in trouble. Let me attract all the attention of everybody.
Oh, aggro.
So maybe almost like a goading attack thing where it's like if monsters attack somebody besides him, it's at disadvantage. And then maybe they have advantage against him, or his movement speed's decreased, or
I like that. I feel like for this being a passive condition, that's pretty strong. At least for a disadvantage, like because that would essentially affect an entire battlefield. Maybe like give it an aura, like an area of effect, like people within 15 feet or something, they can see him, so they would elect to attack him over somebody else. Like enemies within we could do. I'd even give you 20 feet. Any enemies within 20 feet have disadvantage on other targets and have advantage on attacking you.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Are we supposed to do like a bloodied condition specific to us?
Yeah, so think about if Crowbar gets hurt grievously enough that he's below half health.
Yeah, he would probably just
how
get
would
a
he?
harder rage boner.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Some variation on attacking recklessly. I didn't do my homework, so
That's okay. That's
he
what,
just enters like a
that's
permanent
what
reckless attacking state. I don't know.
I I suppose I would. I mean,
I might have to think about it.
you're already raging for a minute anyway.
Yeah, yeah, but that's not the same as attacking recklessly though.
Right.
I also feel like you can reckless attack at will anyway. So
Yeah. Okay.
I
Yeah,
would
I'll have to
say
think about it.
Yeah, think it over. I would give you permanent rage, I guess, if you're below 50% and he's that bloodthirsty all the time anyway. Just never calms down.
There's not a lot you can do
hit a
with
minute
the
and you just keep
barbarian.
going.
It's like, do they just get angrier or do they
Right.
what? That's about it.
Is there like I don't know, like intrinsically with Crowbar?
I mean,
is there any situation where he would like panic,
uh,
or is he pretty much just like, I'm gonna be fine? I'm pretty sure I can overpower pretty much anybody. So
I could see the occasional, like the once in a blue moon scenario, making him panic a little bit.
I'm wondering. So I was thinking about this. Let me know what you guys think about this. And this may be doing way too much work, but what if, like in Crowbar's situation, at 50%, who knows, like something specific for him, if it's even worth doing, like recklessly attacking, boosting that might not give you much of a bonus. What if we give you a bigger bonus, but we make your bloodied conditions start at a lower percentage? Like, what if your percentages were different? So, like,
possibly
if Crowbar gets down to like 20% health, he just starts fucking people up.
Yeah,
like,
I feel like the
panicking
permanent
and
rage
he's
would be
like-
too powerful on him because when he's raging as a totem warrior, he's resistant to everything except psychic damage. So that would be OP.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, my thought is
kind of,
how many. Go ahead, Donna.
you're gonna say the same thing I am. Just like how many combats go more than 10 rounds anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. That would be like reserved for major like war battle combat that you're moving from combat to combat to combat, which will happen at some point in this campaign, or like BBEG stuff. Like you're
maybe
I think
going.
I don't know. Maybe like add a damage die per short rest. I don't know.
The only combat that I ran that was over 10 rounds was the Shadow Demon you guys fought that one time that was like 20 plus rounds.
That one time.
That was crazy.
Yeah, let's think on that. Do some thinking. Even if we edit the percentage, I'm open to pretty much whatever. I just think it, like Donovan said it really well last week. We've been doing a lot of smaller things, not a lot of big through line campaigns. So combat is starting to feel a little bit stale because it all feels like we're just starting combat again. So anything that we can do to like there's going to be a lot of phase combat this time around, so it's not going to be like there are 6 enemies and the 6 of you fight. Anything that we can do to shake it up a little bit or make it even just a little bit different.
So I will ask though, regardless of whatever percentage we decide to set it at, do you want bloodied to like trigger something positive or trigger something negative?
Yep, one.
Like, do you want to do a blanket thing? One of each.
Well, that's what we were. That's what we were saying. We talked about that. Like, should everybody just get +1 AC and -10 movement speed? And we decided that something specific for each character would be more interesting. So think about what you
Okay.
want. I mean, you could just decide what you want, and we'll work it out. I'm fine with that.
All right.
What do you guys think, Trent and Andrew?
I mean, I'll oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Trent.
Well, I was gonna do the whole not to be boring, but I like the whole increase to AC and then decrease movement speed because I picture my character being one that would kind of sort of cover his head a little bit and be a little more protective since he's not necessarily built for battle and that's not his experience or history, and probably just a little more afraid of moving around the field. So as lame as it is, I think I would just take the +2 AC minus whatever you suggested for like movement speed.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorcerer. Well, I'm gonna ask you a meta question, and you may not have
Oh
an
no.
answer to this at all. Uh,
Okay.
what type of sorcerer do you foresee yourself playing? Because a lot of times you're behind the line, attacking
So
from
you already
afar.
noticed that movement isn't going to be a big cost for me, right?
Well, I'm wondering if I should dock your movement speed or just say you can only move every other turn.
Oh, we can do that. Movement every other turn, because I don't know what kind of sorcerer I want to be. I assume I'll stay behind the
Plus,
line, and
a permanent
do things
+2
from
to
afar.
AC is big. That's a thick boon.
It is.
For the short term.
That's a concentration spell.
Should we do a +1 AC?
Yeah. And then give you just what's your movement speed?
It's
You have 30.
yeah.
Drop it to 15 +1 to AC, 15 movement speed. I'm good with that.
Okay. Great.
What say you, Andrew?
So I was thinking basically a trade-off between my either my defense or my like martial attack in trade for like spell slots. So I would think as like a really hardened soldier, I would kind of like focus down and kind of like forget more about spell casting and focus on physically protecting myself and my other, you know, my other comrades basically. So I was thinking of
Taking an extra die on damage die.
yeah. So I was thinking of a gradual thing. Like once I drop below 50, I get like I lose one spell slot and I gain like 1 AC, and every time I drop like another 10%, essentially it'd do the same thing, or drop a spell slot and gain a D4 or something to my martial attacks, kind of thing.
I like that direction. The only thing that I would have issue with is if you are healed back up past 50%. What happens to your spell slots then? Are they still occupied? Like, I feel like that's just more permanent than we need it to be. You know what I mean? What if
you play a bard, right?
What if you just
drop below half health, gain 2 bardic inspiration die or something, something to that effect. That way you can buff yourself in saving throws or something.
You
or
can't
below
give yourself
25
a
gallon.
bardic inspiration, but if you, in that case, you could give yourself inspiration. Or if you want to do the martial versus spell type thing, you could always do just like disadvantage on, or like if you
what would be like the like the bane to the boon if I got like 2 more like bardic inspiration or something, or like 2 that I could use for myself or something like that.
You could do the same thing. Like the 2 basic ways to cast a spell are saving throws and attack rolls. So you could have minus a d6 for your attack rolls, or your saving throw for your spells goes down. Your DC for your saves goes down.
What if you can either use bardic inspiration or cast a spell and you can't do both?
Ooh. We're like, eggs all in one basket. You're only martial.
If you really want to do the switch to martial when you're
Inspiration.
below that health, you can either use an inspiration and attack or cast a spell and you can't use it. I don't know.
I like
Can I
that.
just have like unlimited bardics?
No, you would once you hit that
I
threshold, you would get 1 or 2 die,
I like that.
but like
That-
you
that's an
can't
interesting-
use bardic inspiration and cast a spell in the same turn because it's
That's
a
an
bonus
interesting
action. So
thing. I'd even
So-
give you a pool of dice. Like you could
So
have
I'd lose-
3 or 4 inspiration dice, but no spell casting ability. Only martial with bardic inspiration.
That, I don't know. That seems a little too heavily weighted in the negative.
As our best healer at this point, I'm very, very against this.
what? Trent's not a divine soul.
No.
Is Billy playing
No,
a
wait, I
cleric
don't-
or a paladin?
What am I again?
He's a paladin, so he will have
Oh.
lay on hands.
So he is our best healer.
He's your best healer, your best melee attacker, your best tank, your best.
Hang on
defense.
now. Whoa, 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 whoa.
You should've
Best
seen your
melee
stats
attacker
list
and
you
tank?
rolled.
Hold on. Crowbar is
Okay,
one of
best
those.
melee- Crowbar is the best melee attacker, that's for sure.
But Smite?
No, Crowbar's the smartest
Oh,
of the party.
no, Urzok is the best tank. I can't even say as a totem barbarian that I'm the best tank.
I think Billy took that spot. I think they're really comparable with health, and his armor class is almost the same as Urzok's.
But
One less.
but you're forgetting he doesn't have mirror image and blur.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's insane.
That's true. But what he does have is the devotee's sensor. Again.
What if I lose 2 spell slots, or like lose 2 points to my like save DCs?
Yeah, I think that's a preferable route to go because I feel like it would just get really muddy trying to keep track of how many spell slots you have or you're losing, or especially if you sit right around 50%.
Yeah.
If you're healing back and forth or taking it back, and
Mhm.
it's a lot of mental gymnastics.
And then
I would say if you want to take 2 off of your DC, drop
And-
2 from your DCs, and then just like a D4 off of your attack rolls for spell attacks.
Okay, and then
That's
I
all
would
bad.
get what, like another D8 for my attacks, or like 2 or 3. What if I got like 2 or 3 bardic inspirations that I could use as
I'll
a
let-
reaction or something like that?
I'll let you pick between a D8 to your attacks and 3 bardic inspiration die that you can use. What's up, Brad? What are you thinking for your bloodied boons?
Hey, sorry I was late, guys.
Deficits. No, you're good.
You're good.
How dare you shower?
Well, you know, yeah, exactly.
I know
No,
D
I
and
thought
D
over
showering is
hygiene.
taboo.
I thought we were waiting for Billy. That was my bad. What am I thinking about my boon? And so, when we're
Mhm.
bloodied, I think Eric would once per combat, just at half health, pee his pants, and at quarter health, shit the carpet.
So is that the boon or? So what?
No, probably not.
Nobody wants to.
That's probably not.
Nobody
what
wants to be
someone
around
wants.
him. He smells too bad. I'm just like, no thanks.
It gives him a good
Um,
escape plan.
Yeah.
And I just kind of think his. I don't know if that could be turned into a stat, like some kind of saving throws or Constitution saving throws or weakened. I don't know. Or if that's just for flavor, but
Brad wants to
So-
roleplay shitting his pants.
mhm.
You gain 5 inspiration die.
that just means that next turn, instead of the turn that I used to heal myself, I'm gonna use a turn to like druid
Just
grab.
prestidigitation to
Yeah,
instantly
so nothing
unsoil my
spells.
pants.
Yeah, exactly.
oh,
Yep.
Hilarious.
I'm gonna have to wait.
I was gonna say, what it being a half orc? What if I use my relentless endurance when I drop to 0? For going like being bloodied at all, but getting to roll like 1 or 2 hit dice on top of getting bumped up to 1 HP if I go down, or hit 0 and go to 1 if I get to like roll 1d12 or 2d12 as a bounce back.
Yeah, I like that. I like that instead. Yeah, so we'll just say you don't have any boons or deficits at 50%, and if you drop to 0, you don't get back up to 1. You roll. I'll give you 2d12. That's interesting.
Okay.
That's a good idea. Very cool. Brad, maybe I just brought this up for the wrong character. I was talking to Aaron about panic for Crowbar. And I feel like with that, you could increase your movement speed because you're panicked. But I would say you drop at least 2 or 3 off of your saving throws because you are no longer paying attention to anything else.
What about? No, I have an idea.
Saving throws or attack rolls or something like that.
And I can do the movement speed if you want, but I was gonna say if I'm below half health or quarter health, kind of like finds it within himself. If he doesn't have any wild shape slots left, that he can't move it. So he doesn't like add one. So I get into that weird. Oh, I just did below. I get a slot. I heal myself. I take damage. Another slot.
I don't like that at 50%, but I'd give you like 30%. If you hit like 30 or 25% wild shape immediately, you just immediately wild shape.
All right. It would be like a specific one, like a home base wild shape that it reverses.
Yeah, whatever.
It's not like
arachnid.
Oh, which one
Yeah,
would
the
I
spider.
do for flavor now that I've been slashed? He doesn't like things.
Get out of a sticky situation.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be his spider. It's a giant spider.
Yeah. Okay. I will. Let's say same as Crowbar. No boon or deficit per se, but you hit. We'll say 30%. If you hit 30% of your health, immediate wild shape into a spider without taking a spell slot or a wild shape charge.
Gotcha. Okay.
This is great. This is way better than I thought it would go. I thought everybody would be like, I'm gonna take +2 to my attack rolls and -2 to my movement speed. This is good.
Oh, it's so creative.
All right.
Ah, so much to talk about tonight, and so much to role play. I have a section for my note sheet for tonight to write down all of your bloodied conditions, and I didn't write down a single thing that we just talked about. So hopefully you guys did.
I wrote down mine.
Mine should be easy to remember.
All right.
What are you hoping we did?
Writing down whatever you decided for your bloody condition.
I'll put it in my notes.
Thank you. Drop something in the chat here. These are the added rules that I'm thinking of for this time. We don't have to use them if the whole group is pretty opposed to one of them, but I think they're all kind of built into what we were doing anyway. Potions can be used as a bonus action. I'm going to roll all of your death saves. Skill checks, if you attempt the same skill check with the same skill in the same manner, the DC will go up, or I just won't let you do it. And then I'm not going to do hero points, but I'm going to give you can have 3 sparks of inspiration instead of just 1. And you can stack if you pass a wisdom saving throw. You can use an additional inspiration die if you succeed on a save.
I don't have a problem with any of this.
For how long are those inspiration die? Is that like a per level thing?
Forever.
Okay.
No, you just gain inspiration and then you use it.
Okay.
I, the D&D god, will bestow upon you inspiration. I've been thinking a lot about this, and I've been reading a lot of different sources about role playing and how important it is to the game, but also how important it is to note that role playing looks different for everybody and is more and less comfortable for everybody. So I never want to reward quote unquote good role play. Like if you're 100% in character and you give this momentous speech, it's going to be more about what you say rather than how you say it, because another person could just say it. They'll be like, my character wants to do this, and if it makes sense and is a cool idea, doesn't matter how you say it. I'll give you inspiration for that because that's cool. Cool ideas get inspiration. Interesting ways of solving problems. Also, I don't think I've ever had a problem with anybody doing this when I have DM'd. But I'm going to ask that you guys don't ask to roll specific checks. I'll just ask you to roll something if I think that you need to roll it. Otherwise, it's probably something that I would either tell you anyway, or it doesn't exist, or your character wouldn't know. So I'll just ask if I think that you need to roll something. Next thing, burning through this list. This is great. You can check out your character sheets at the bottom of your skills. You will all see that sanity has been added to the bottom of your skill list. You should all have a +3 sanity check.
I do not have. Wait, hold on, let me check.
Oh, yeah.
All the way
Okay.
at the bottom.
Yeah. Like your proficiency skills.
Yeah.
I see it on his.
Interesting.
So I'm going to use sanity throughout this leg of the campaign. That's going to be used. Sanity checks will be made to see how well your character perceives what reality is, or keeps a level head in the face of something mind-bending. So things that you've never seen before, things that are inconceivable, that you didn't think were possible. Sometimes I'll ask you to roll a sanity check to see if you can keep a sound mind while the shit is hitting the fan. I don't think it'll happen often, but I thought that it was a cool dynamic to add a extra dimension sometimes. And if you fail, I haven't figured out what that consequence is yet, but I'll figure it out before we get to that point. Hopefully. Or if I don't, then I won't ask you to roll. But it's there if I do figure it out. All right.
Why won't you change?
Does anybody have... I know we kind of went through this a little bit last week. Does anybody have any questions about any of the characters on the roster?
So Adira's not back, is she?
What?
Adira's not back?
You will find out in a little bit.
All right.
I'm gonna just have to remember as we go.
And I'll learn as we go.
Perfect. All right. Play a little D&D?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess so.
All right. So what would a Tithes campaign session be without a prologue?
Nice.
Today's prologue sponsored by
Ovaltine.
Pokemon Company and Nintendo.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Dang, that's a good get.
Currently working on
Michael Barlos. I said Michael Barros looked down and saw a Pokemon. That's why he said
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought your
We're
Galarian
almost done.
I thought your Galarian Articuno was very, very cool.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So close to the end. I have like 4 drawings to go, and then they're all done.
Catch them all.
Gotta
Just
draw
the-
'em all.
Just all 151 of the regular ones, or the original ones. Probably keep drawing them, but not all of them in order,
Regular
because this is taxing.
Yeah, you're like,
all the regular ones before they all started mutating into different things.
If Jinx is a
really
regular
only,
one, then I'll eat my
Amaranth is
shorts.
something. She's a regular one.
All right. So you can turn your attention to roll 20. This is the last thing that you all saw when we left this campaign off a couple months back. Actually, these people are in the wrong spot. Rewinding things just a tiny bit. To set the scene, you have witnessed a few things happen in just the last couple minutes. You approached from this way, and none of these enemies were out here. It seemed to be a blank clearing, with only the king here. He was fleeing you. You were chasing him through the bottom caves underneath the caster compound, and you have followed him out into this clearing. And he turned around to talk to you. Yeah, this guy right here. This is the king. Sponsored by Burger King, home of the Spicy Squid King sandwich.
Have it your way.
Yeah, we're loving it. Burger King. So the Burger King turned around to talk to you, and a big ol' saber plunges through the front of his chest, and he drops to his knees. Behind him, you see for the first time, unveiling his hood, Robert Visick. And he monologues for a little bit, as he loves to do. You learn a few things about him. He does not have most of his right arm. It is mechanically and arcanely put back together with wood and steel bits. He has some type of full plate armor, but it really is kind of warped to his body, so he has a lot of mobility. And as he is talking to you all, hey, what's up, Billy? As he is talking to you all, you are kind of ushered in to the middle section of this clearing, and all of these enemies start appearing from the shadows, from the trees, dropping down from branches, popping up from behind rocks, things like that. And you see a lot of things all at the same time. To your left, directly, they bring out 3 hostages. They have Cerberus, who is still in a daze from you charming him earlier. Marawil, who was your friendly but kind of mousy common worker aide who took care of you while you were in captivity. And Ash, who had recently run away, escaped, was previously one of your party members, and now is seemingly in pretty bad shape, being held by these people. Also back here, you would see Shaw, who is the small blue girl that was, to your belief, tithed incorrectly. She was not supposed to be a part of the competition. She's far too young, but she was there anyway for some reason, and the more you learned last campaign, it seemed like she was there for a specific reason. So she is being held by this guard right here. And Visick kind of walks down the line and reveals some information about all of you. He seems to have considerably less information to spill about Urzok and Crowbar, but drops a pretty big bomb about Adira and Ash. They are, in fact, sisters or half-sisters. And Brackle Baff, he reveals that his name is actually Ishtar and not Brackle. And then he starts walking backwards. You see him grab Shaw. They start walking back. And the last thing you heard him say before we stopped the last campaign is to make sure that he was not followed. And Steven slash the pacifist slash Flynn walks up, and he is there to stop you from trying to follow Visick wherever he is going. Not that you could get anywhere with all of these red circles around you anyway, but he is there to make concrete that you do not move. So you see Visick finish his speech. He orders Flynn to approach you. You see him draw a bright blue glyph in the air with his hand. And behind him, a big gate opens, which he and Shaw walk through. And as he leads Shaw through, and the final part of her body, like some fingers, her hand, is the last thing to pass through. Right when it passes through, the gate disappears. They are gone. You see Flynn. He's right in front of you. He looks just like the seemingly friendly, very pacifistic, mild-mannered undead man that has been following you around the past 4 weeks. His eyes are now completely black. They're completely washed over. And he begins to walk towards you. Slowly, not necessarily menacingly, but with purpose. And he starts to get up, and you hear from your left, Morrowville. She is looking past you. King, who is now taking advantage of everyone watching this giant magical portal open up down at this far end of the clearing here. You can see him is holding his scepter in his hand. And he has broken through this rank, and he is on the ground, bleeding out, close to death. And before you can do anything, before you can react, he lets out a blood-curdling shriek. He thrusts the scepter up into the air, and he releases a massive surge of energy. It's like like an EMP almost. Just a big dome of energy releases out from his location. And he immediately stops shrieking, kills himself instantly. But everybody else in the clearing starts to drop. And you see these two soldiers that were right over top of him. They were the closest to the scepter. Their legs just dissolve, just disintegrate where they were close to that, the center, the epicenter of that energy burst. And it just annihilates these two guys right here. And as that shock wave starts moving out, everybody is knocked down. You're all knocked prone. And I'm going to have all... let's see. How many of you are here? 4? Adir is not here. 1, 2, so Urzak, Crowbar, Eric, and Brackle. I have all 4 of you make a con save for me, please. Not bad.
The dice roll wasn't bad.
All right.
Ozak has good constitution.
Yeah. All right, Brackle, you are hit with this EMP blast, this energy blast, and you are thrown. I would say thrown at least 10 feet. You are prone. You are close to blacking out. It doesn't necessarily hurt in terms of hit points, in terms of health. It doesn't dock your hit points a ton. There's some force damage from landing on the ground and the actual shock wave of it. But it's almost like the energy, the magic that he used. It was the last dying act of this very unstable, very petty, very proud, and very unruly leader who never really knew what he was doing, wielding such a powerful magic weapon. So he, you can tell, is just putting everything, literally everything he has left into this blast. And it's hard for you to even keep your eyes open. It's so powerful. It's just so overwhelming. So Brackle, you are thrown. I'd say Eric, you are stumbling back as well. Not as far as Brackle, but you're both knocked prone. Crowbar and Adira, you take the brunt of that blast. I would say that you just crumple. You just down on your knees, falling over. And Urzak, same thing. You just drop down. Crowbar, you may be the only one who's paying attention to something straightforward. You see that Flynn is knocked back as well. And everybody is just kind of moved back from the king's position. These guys are dead. Dead for sure. I'm going to have you guys roll a d20. All four of you, please.
What?
All right. Let's see. Eric, you were knocked face down, so you do not see this. The other three of you, you land on your back. And as your vision starts to close in, it's so much pressure. Your body is just starting to shut down, just trying to contain all of this magic that just passed through you. As your eyes begin to close, your vision is narrowing, and you see up in the sky this energy blast. It's still going. The dome is widening as it is affecting everything in its wake. You can only imagine the droves of people, all of the communities that are positioned in the city around the compound, how much this is affecting not only them, but some of those places are not great places to live. They don't have very well built houses. This could be destroying a lot of those things too. You see it almost, it's like it makes contact with a ceiling in the sky, with the atmosphere or something, and you just see what looks like as if you were to cut a shirt with a knife. Just looks like a tear up in the sky, and it shines brilliant blue white, just 3 or 4 seconds, and vanishes. And then everything is calm. Everything is silent. You're looking around. And you see that Flynn has gotten up, assessing the situation. He is over here helping Mara Will up. Ash is nowhere to be found. She is gone. Cerberus is also gone. He seems to... Urzak, make a perception check.
I'm so good at that. That's a natural 2 plus 0.
All right. You have no idea where Cerberus went. None of you do. Most of these soldiers on this side have pretty grievous injuries, just from being pushed so far back. You can't imagine that their armor, which was mass produced for them, is made incredibly well. It's not fitted to each person like your armors would be. So a lot of them may still have sharp edges, things like that. In this case, for this type of damage, that armor is not helpful. It is more of a hindrance than anything else. So they are hurting. Same for these guys back here. A lot of these soldiers up here are running away. They were further away from the center of the blast, still feeling it, but they are able to get back on their feet a little bit quicker. And you are soon left with pretty much yourselves. Visick and Shah are long gone. You see Flynn and Maruil. He's helping her get up. What would you guys like to do?
So Flynn looks like he's snapped out of whatever the aggression towards us.
You can tell that there is something immediately different about him. Whatever threw him back, knocked him out of his charmed state.
I would like to grab the scepter.
Yeah, so you turn around, you pull the scepter from the king's grasp. It is charred. It is the best description. It has just channeled possibly the most energy, the most magic that it has ever used or been used for since its creation. You can tell that there's still a little bit of magic coursing through it, but it's bent. There are scratches and delaminations all through the rod handle, and the crystal up at the top is cracked and missing several bits.
Cool. I'm just gonna fucking throw it in a backpack or something.
You can just put crystal scepter. I don't know if I ever had an official name for it. Yeah. Whatever you want to name it. Who cares? It's yours now, so you can name it whatever you want.
And then, just wanna, if anybody's struggling on the ground still, to get up, just help some people up and see how they're doing.
Eric seems fine, but he's still prone. Brackle seems like he took the most physical damage, and he is the furthest away from you.
And his physical appearance changed as well, right?
So I guess we never role played out, Andrew, that you took your wig off.
Yeah, I just took I took my hair off.
We just changed that because we explained it after we were done. Possibly in character, this would be very apt for Brackle, for the wig to just fly off as you got hit by.
Yeah, I like that way more.
So yeah, for the first time, you heard Visick use a different name for him, and that makes you a little bit suspicious. But now, after being hit by this energy blast, Brackle's hair flew off. It was not real hair. It was a wig.
Yeah, I would approach him and extend out an arm to help him get on his feet.
I imagine I'm still absolutely blurry. Don't know what's going on. Probably like engaging in that like battle adrenaline of like trying to get my senses of what's going on, looking around, see you and grab your arm quickly, and just try and get like in a defensive stance because not being probably still not being able to see totally well. What's going on?
Well, Eric wants to ask Ishtar that because he was kind of facing the ground was the energy blast. So he wanted to ask Ishtar if he knows anything about the scepter and the energy, and maybe Urzak because he has the scepter now, maybe or so.
Not to answer for you, Andrew, but you would not know any inner workings of with your position with the casters. You wouldn't know anything about how the scepter works, or how the king got it, or how he would even be able to make that.
So we're just looking at each other, just what is going on.
And so just to refresh and get a better idea of the environment, basically all of these soldiers are gone. or
They
are
are,
there
they're
still
either
enemies?
dead. There are no viable enemies anymore. They
Okay.
are either dead, incapacitated. I would say this block over here, maybe 5 or 6 of them,
Mm.
knocked out cold on the ground. Everybody else is gone, run away, or dead.
I'll just answer back. Say, well, I don't know, but no funny business.
We need to get away from this place. We need to find a secure spot and figure out what's going on.
As you
How
are,
close?
go ahead.
I was just to ask how close are the villa, like the closest. So the Castor compound, from where we're at, is it still within a wall, or is there city like outside of the compound, or are we inside of that?
So you are. This is a really bad representation. The map is a bad representation with how big this castle is. So the castle really is like right here on that diamond,
Mhm.
and then there is a tight city of more elite housing right around the compound, and then kind of sprinkled out. All of this is encased within this wall. So the wall that's going around is around the Castor compound, the inner city, which is more established buildings, businesses, banks, temples, things like that. And then on the outside, more farmland, prairie land, and the more poor housing.
Okay, but we're inside the wall at this point.
You are still inside the wall, yes.
Um,
You are pretty much as central to this fence or the walled-in area as it gets. You are right outside the compound, kind of within this inner city.
sorry, that was it. Go ahead. Continue.
As you are doing this, I'll get you back to this. As you're getting your bearings, making sure each other is okay, you notice Adira get up and just start walking this way without saying anything. And at the same time, pretty much not even paying her any attention, Flynn carrying Marawil, who seems to be pretty badly injured. She's a commoner, so she would not have the resistances to this that any of you would have, or even these lower level knights would have. She also isn't wearing any armor, any protective clothing at all. She's still in her common worker outfit, just a normal white shirt, which is pretty stained with blood at this point, and her black trousers. Flynn is carrying her, and he kind of pushes past you guys, starts walking back towards the compound, and all he says is, "She'll need to get to the infirmary. If I were you, forget this ever happened and go home. If I know the casters, they won't let you be free for long. They'll be looking for you." And he will continue off back towards the compound, and he exits. Adira is about 40 paces away at this point.
Just turn to everyone else and say like, I don't think I ever expected less of her.
Should we stop either of them? Obviously, we need to be careful of Flynn from now on. Now that we know his true name is not Stephen.
Speaking of
think-
true names, when were you going to tell us?
When was I going to tell you My other name?
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't planned on it. Didn't feel as though it was important. It holds no import or title or any other such thing.
Where do you really come from?
I come from Isamel, the mining town out west.
Once again, above game was something said to the extent that Ishtar wanted to like kill humanity?
No.
So, Robert Visick would have implied something to that effect about both Ishtar, or about Ishtar, Eric, and Adira. So I guess it's up for debate whether you think that is viable information. You know that the stuff that I guess the minor information that he had on you was correct. And it seemed to shake Adira and Ash both when he revealed them to be sisters, enough for them to act the way they did after all of this transpired. So there could be some truth to that. It could also be bullshit.
Urzak is going to uh, turn to them and say, "I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care about your name. I don't care about you. Going to the city, going to see how bad this is."
Yeah, if Robert is against you, Ishtar, that tells me all I need to know. I'm with you.
All I can say is you've seen every action I've made since we've been together, and I don't plan on changing the way I act any further because I have another name.
All right, well, you look better without the hair.
As long as my mustache has stayed. He first like checks his head,
Yeah.
uh, and
We're
he's like,
getting to.
he's like, I knew that was a mistake, and like you'll see his ring glow a little bit, and then um, hair just apparates on his head.
Oh, okay.
So maybe it might have been not even a hair piece. It was like
Yeah.
he had just like a constant like disguise stealth on his hair this whole time.
Constant illusory hair follicles.
Yep.
CG hair.
That's that's
Well,
better.
we're getting distracted. The Castor army is probably going to seek us. Once they've dealt with the initial impact from that energy,
Well,
we might want to follow it.
Cerberus, yes. Should we follow Adira? I mean, obviously we're not going to follow.
And
Urzak
Flynn.
is actually Urzak's going after Flynn at this point.
okay.
Are you
Yeah,
like
we'll
running
follow
after him?
Urzak.
He's a light jog.
Well, we can't leave each other.
Let's
Just
not
like
split the group.
Yeah.
Let's not split the group anymore than we already have.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm definitely not big enough to tell Urzak what to do, so I'll just follow him.
Fair.
Oh,
That's
always
fair.
a smart. I'll lean into Eric. That's not a bad theory to go on.
Hmm. He would break through whatever spell I try to bind him with, vines or shit.
Most likely.
Don't work. It's not what we need to do
Right.
this time.
Yeah.
So
Let me
fast
check.
tracking this. Go ahead.
Can I check the king for any information he might have on him, or like I'm not trying to like pick. I don't care about his gold or anything. I'm seeing if there's any like keys he might have had on him, or
Sure.
any important documents or anything like that.
So yeah, something that you would definitely find copies of the papers that you found in his room.
Okay.
He kept them within his like breast pocket inside of his like quilted leather armor. You would also find a small book, like a journal type thing, and you would recognize this this type of journal. This is something that I'm not sure if you guys remember, but in the barrel room, there were the infamous barrel room. There
Famous to me.
were two famous to grow upon. Just fucking smash all the barrels. I'm not doing this one by one anymore. You found two journals where you could write in them and the ink would disappear. And if you wrote a name inside of the journal, some effect would happen to that person. He has one of those journals on him, and it is blank. Flipping through it, the pages are blank. You would also know you already have one of those as well. Gael had one stashed in his room when he gave you permission to take his effects from his chest, from his footlocker. So he had one as well. It could be surmised at this point, because you saw one on Cerberus too, that they could be standard issue for generals at least. You do not have one as a scout, so higher level casters have these. All of them that you've seen so far have been blank inside. Then the only other thing that he has on him, he does have a sack of gold. He is very, very money obsessed. It was no surprise to anyone. You do find 500 gold pieces on his person.
Okay.
And that's it.
Yep. Cool. I will grab that and tell everybody what I found once we get to a point where we can talk about it.
Since the goal will probably be like healing up at the infirmary and stuff, can Eric run to the incapacitated soldiers and check for medicine and healing potions?
Yeah. I mean, you could kind of there. I mean, there are dead bodies all around you.
Oh yeah.
Give me an investigation check.
Okay. 4.
Yeah, there's not much here. It's pretty bare bones. There are some pretty basic martial weapons. You can't tell if there's any magic to most of them, but probably not. A few of the seemingly higher ranking soldiers, you could find a magical longbow. So if you want that, it'd be a +1 longbow. And then in these guys over here, you'd find 2 healing potions and 1 potion of invisibility from the rogue that was over here.
Okay. I'll take those 3 potions and longbow, and follow along with the party.
Just so I am understanding you correctly, are you leaving the potion of invisibility? You're just not taking it?
So
Does anybody else want it?
How many potions were there?
3 healing potions, lesser healing potions, and 1 potion of invisibility.
Yeah, I'll take the invisibility potion. I'll probably give it to someone later. I'll take it for now.
And a shit ton of short swords and long swords that don't have any properties.
Leave them alone.
All these knights and guards, did they all have kind of like a standard uniform?
A lot of them had standard mass-produced armor.
Okay. Just like generic, no color kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, is this the same? Do they look like the caster army, or do they look like different than?
They do not. It is pretty clear that they were there with Visic.
So it's just the basic potions of healing?
Yes.
Thanks.
All right, to fast track this, because it seems like you're taking path A. You're going back towards the compound / the inner city to check on civilians there. I'll just split the party for narrative ease. Let's say Eric and Brackle, you go back into the compound, because Brackle, you know where to go. It's just easier for you to know how to get where you're going faster. You go back to the infirmary, and it seems like Flynn is doing what he said he was doing. He took Marwell back to the infirmary. You find him sitting by her bed. He laid her down in bed. There is another common worker tending to her wounds, and then it seems like some type of magical healer casting some spell, some type of bonding spell over where seems to be her most grievous wound. Arvantis is also there. He is asleep, not because he is in bad shape, just because he was tired.
So I would say I would go up and check on Morrowill first.
Okay. Make a medicine check.
You got it. Nat 20 plus 3, so 23.
She seems stable. She is not conscious, but she seems visibly in much better condition than she was in the clearing. So that is good.
Okay. And then I want to look right at Flynn or Steven and
call him whatever you want. Yeah.
Did you have any control of yourself? Do you remember what just happened before you carried Morrowill here?
He will look you dead in the eyes. His eyes are no longer black. They have distinct pupils like you would remember from before. And it's odd to see a person of his stature and someone who has died and been brought back to be offering open emotion. It seems like he has been crying. His eyes look red. His face looks puffy, which in his case, his face looks more alive. And he seems to be showing true remorse for what happened. He might even be saddling himself with the burden of this happening at all. Maybe if he hadn't been in the position he was in, he could have done something to stop it, or see the king act before he acted. Something like that. He might not be sure of what he was going to do, but he seems to be taking this very, very personally and not well. Jumping over to Crowbar and Urzak, you make it into the city center. The houses inside of the Castor City, especially the wealthier districts, they are pretty severely landlocked. So a lot of their building is vertical. And because of that, just like the sides of the building that took the initial impact seem to have a little bit of damage, but they're structurally more sound because of the way that they have to build them. They have to be more formidable so they don't fall over. They seem to be in pretty good shape. You can't see anybody out in the streets or anything like that. You can't hear any yelling. You can't hear any type of distress type of sound at all. Almost eerily quiet, actually, for what just occurred.
There's no people at all, or
there's nobody that you can see. You are now entering probably one of the more dense neighborhoods in this, right outside the compound. Definitely someplace that would have seen some damage from the blast, and nobody's even outside.
And the whole time we've been walking through the city, we haven't seen people.
You have not seen anybody. Granted, and to remind you of the time of day, this would be about 9:30 at night.
Not terribly late.
Are any of the buildings lit inside?
Not in the...
Like, are there signs of life still?
Yep.
Okay.
I pound door that it seems lit?
Yeah. So the first house that you see, or if you can even call it a house, or like a high rise. So you knock on the door of the lowest level. This has probably 6 stories up that you can see, that you could assume to be residences. You knock on the door, and from behind the door, you could assume it easily in another room, not right behind the door, but he's inside. You hear a voice say, "What? It's late."
There's been an incident. There, you are what? Are you well?
What?
Is, every,
What?
is everybody
Who?
okay?
Hold on. So and you hear kind of fumbling inside, um, almost like well, he certainly was not expecting company. You hear maybe him tripping over something, tripping over a table, trying to get things together to answer the door. And behind the door, he opens the door, um, somewhat disheveled, only because he clearly put clothing on very fast to open the door. Uh, he opens the door, kind of just partially, so you see his face like this. He's like, "What?"
Just checking to make sure everything's okay. It's been
"Yeah,
an incident.
what? I don't care. Everything is fine. Everything's fine in here. Everything's fine out there. Everything's always fine. The king will make sure that whatever you think happened just goes away. Good night." And he will slam the door in your face.
King's dead.
He will slowly open the door again.
King's dead, and your house is falling apart. Good night. I'm glad you're well.
But as you start walking away, he'll kind of open the door again, and he'll be like, "Wait!" And so he's like running, kind of, as best he can behind you. He's like his pants are like half on, his shirt is unbuttoned. His hair is all disheveled. He probably was asleep, or doing some other 9:30 p.m. activity. Uh, and he runs after you, and he said, "Wait, okay, sorry for my manner of speaking. I'm just very forward. Deal with it. I need to know what you're talking about when you say that the king is dead, because that's never happened before. So,
Well,
what do you mean?"
it hasn't happened in your lifetime, but you see that kings they come and go, and well that fool from before, and he's now dead. So I'm sure some other idiot will take his place soon.
So I think he is now letting it sink in what the two of you look like. A giant silver dragonborn and a giant half orc, both carrying big weapons and like decked out in armor and adventuring gear. He's now letting that sink in, and his bravado is now gone. He is no longer the big rich man living at
Yeah.
one Casterway. He now knows nothing about the situation, and he begins to panic. So he starts like breathing faster, and he can see his skin start to glisten a little bit. He's starting to sweat, and he says, "But well, the king can't be dead. The king can't be dead. Who's gonna stop all the bad things from happening to all of us? Like, I mean, we all work for the king. If the king's gone, who's gonna do? Who's?" And so he starts kind of like backing up and just not talking to you anymore, talking to himself, talking to the building, talking to the sky. Um, he didn't even get a chance to tell him what actually happened, because he is now more worried about what his well-being will look like now that the king is gone. So he is now wandering the street away from you guys, just rambling to himself.
He's gonna turn to Crowbar and just say, "Rich people, right?"
Aye.
just everyone's not dead. Just kind of worried about that.
Yeah, it seems like you can knock on a couple more doors. We'll say that you go through a few more neighborhoods just to make sure that people are feeling okay. And
I usually
largely,
keep my distance.
the
10
Crowbar
feet.
will stay out in the middle of the street, and Urzak will walk up to the doors and knock on them and talk to the locals. Largely the same response. Either completely non-committal to the conversation, or they lose their shit. Right? They lose their mind when they hear either about a giant arcane explosion happening 2 miles away from their house, or that the king has died. Really, you don't get any usable information. You don't get anything worthwhile from these people. They are so far removed from the societies that the two of you are used to that there's no common ground even to begin to talk to them. So I'm gonna fast track both of your storylines. So we'd say that you and Eric Brackle
Mhm.
stay with Marwill and Flynn for a while.
I'd
Flynn
slap
really is not.
Arvantus.
That's fair. Um, Flynn is not interested in talking. Marwill is still out. She seems to be steadily regaining her health. Um, not not looking great for the short term, but probably with some help, a long term recovery is in the cards. Arvantus is very upset that you slap him awake. So he will exit and go back down to the Tide's quarters to try and get a good night's sleep in the old hard bed that he woke up in 3.5 weeks ago.
Can I cast blindness on him just to make it harder for him to get back to noticing?
Yeah. So you cast blindness on Arvantus, and he's God damn it, oh shit, and you hear him fall down the main staircase.
I just make him stumble around for a minute as long as it lasts.
God, fuck, shit, God, my legs.
Must
So
be
maybe you just
must
sleep
be
on the floor. Maybe wherever
Can you
he
imagine
lands.
going through life that untrained and unbalanced?
No. I, as just a normal human man, can't imagine that. So the four of you meet back up, share your findings. It seems that whenever something like this happens, if there's one thing that you gathered from both sides, maybe you talked to some of the aides, Brackle or Eric, and then talking to the civilians, Crowbar and Urzak, you would gather, if anything, that if something bad happens, the casters are incredibly good at sweeping it under the rug, either pretending like it didn't happen or spinning it so that they were heroic, that they were the ones that stopped something bad from happening, they were the ones that saved the day. As far as you know, the king is dead. Ebish, who is the other general, the goblin, hasn't been seen for about a week and a half. She is either on the run or in hiding. To your knowledge, Gael is dead. And the only standing caster with the highest station is Cerberus. And you are not in his good graces currently, because he has complete memory of you charming him just insanely charming him so well. I can't remember what you rolled, but I know it was a gnarly high roll
It
to
was quite
just
high.
fuck him up. So he's not particularly happy with you guys either.
Is he known to be about, or did he vanish as well?
Yeah, Which way did he run?
You
Did
don't
he
know
run
where
away
he
from
went.
the compound? Oh, that's right.
Urzak rolled a natural 2 when he was looking for where
But is it
Cerberus went.
is there a commotion around? Like you said, like Ebbish has been missing. Nobody's seen her. Have people seen Cerberus, or is he also missing?
Well, it just happened, and it's late at night, so a lot of people would be in their quarters anyway. So
Okay.
I suppose you could check his quarters, but
No,
nobody is really. Everyone is none the wiser.
Okay.
It seems like even the people that were awake inside of the compound, it's not uncommon to hear big explosions outside in the testing fields anyway. So they probably just assumed that it was somebody practicing magic, something like that. They don't seem very phased by it. It's possible that the four of you and Flynn are the only ones that saw the tear in the sky, and lived to tell about the big blast. At least that are conscious or present right now. You can assume that Ash is alive. You saw her running away, and you know that Adira is alive. You saw her walking in that direction. Um, Other than that, you don't have much information.
So the only two generals that might be in the city would be Daunt and Cerberus.
That is true. And that's where I'm going to stop this portion of the story, and I'm going to pivot because this is a good enough breaking off point. We'll pick up in a couple days from now, next week. I'm going to pivot to some more individual storylines. So I am going to start in a. So this is a. You would actually all recognize this if you remember your time in the cerebral realm last time. You are in Farinth. Farinth is a northern city in the middle of the desert, and it is the origin location of Urzak, the Eternal Blade. Ourselves on in the city midday, and this is back probably 85 years ago. So most of you have not been born. Of the tithes, Flynn and Arvantis are the only other ones that would be alive at this time. And Urzak is out, out and about. Where would Urzak be on a random day in the middle of the day?
I should ask something.
Yeah.
Perhaps clarify. If this was 85 years ago, this would be. He's basically still a child. He would still be in the middle.
He's 15.
He would be in the middle of trials at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where you would like the story to be? So this is
Yes.
like before he's the Eternal Blade, even.
That's correct.
Okay. This is
actually I have a question before we go any further. Hop over to one-on-one.
Okay.
Fucking nerds.
Really, you didn't really miss anything. We started like 2 minutes before you got in.
Cool. Yeah, I was late at work.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there was anything. You remember kind of like some rule changes? I don't know if you saw the Discord.
I did some of the. Is that just homebrew stuff that we're trying?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like most of them are pretty common. The only one I don't really quite get is the inspiration stack thing.
Gotcha. Yeah, essentially he's getting rid of like the hero points that we used in mines, and you could potentially have up to 3 inspiration dice at one time.
Oh, like traditional, like you get inspiration, extra d20 roll, that sort of thing. Just good up to 3.
Right.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. Okay, so slight retcon. This is about 79, 80 years ago.
Okay.
You have just earned the title of Eternal Blade. Would you like to explain that process to the group?
So, above game, backstory on Urzak. Um, there is a dragon whose name I will provide as soon as I
Lendis.
find. So
No,
Lendis
that's
is
the god.
Lendis is the god that he worships,
Devlin?
and the temple that he stays at worships. Devlin is an ancient silver dragon that basically heads and started this temple. Um, and after the war had ended, there's a time of peace. And she, for the first time in her life, starts thinking about how to carry on her legacy. But fortunately, she is too old to bear children at this point. Um, and decides that to basically, in order to choose a proper successor, she's going to find a bunch of orphans. So they find 21 silver-born, silver dragon-born orphans born around the same time um, to be adopted by the temple. And they go through basically rigorous trials to determine who is the successor to her power. And basically, every year for 20 years, they decide one of the children is unfit. So early on, it's stuff like uh, they're too small, their cranium's not big enough. Eventually, it's like, oh, their breath isn't cold enough. Like whoever's the warmest breath gets eliminated, and then it turns into things like intelligence tests, training courses, more rigorous stuff like that. And the final test was between him and one of his sisters, Gendrul, in which point they were not really commanded, but led to believe that they were to fight to the death to determine who inherits the power. And Urzak's the one to say that, like, no, I won't do this. I won't kill an innocent person in the name of power. In which case they say, great, you actually passed the test. That's what we were testing for. So he inherits a blade, which is the Blade of Lendis, which becomes a house to the soul of Devlin. So Devlin passes on her soul to live within the sword and grant power to Urzak. Which we're stating one of those things, the most prevalent thing of that currently is that he doesn't age while he wields the sword. And also, the idea is that eventually he will become a full-on dragon with this power and this soul eventually.
So Urzak is about 80 years old, but living in the body of a 20, 21-year-old. Cool. So that has just concluded. So we'd say in the weeks following you earning this title and learning to bear the burden of the soul of a dragon in the sword that you now brandish all the time. You keep it with you everywhere you go. You are obviously well known in the city now. Everybody that every resident that lives there knows who you are. They have tracked the progress of who they thought the strongest dragonborn children were, probably for a decade now, for the ones that were really invested. So they have followed your life. And everybody wants to talk to you. politicians, far travelers, people from the capital city are here to interview you, talk to you, ask you questions about how the trials went, things like that. And one of these outings is scheduled for uh, this evening, and you are wherever you are, trying to prepare because you have always been trial minded, training minded, never been one for politics. So now this is very new that you're thrust out into this world, doing not what you thought you would be doing. You're mainly talking to people in rooms and not out protecting where you want to be. So where would you be in this situation?
Where am I going for this meeting, or where would I be
Where
before?
would you be just by yourself?
So I would say that aside from waking up, getting a morning routine, workout train session, and he would go down to the farmers market where they have
Okay.
produce and goods,
Love.
and he is going to a person that he knows, and he's going to buy all of the older produce,
Okay.
all the stuff people don't want,
All right.
all the not pretty produce.
Yeah, so you walk into the farmer's market. Something that is unique about Farinth that not a lot of cities in the continent uh, share is that their buildings are very very bland. They're more about service to the gods, service to the land, service to each other. They're all about balance. So making things aesthetically pleasing is not high on their list of priorities. So a lot of the buildings look the same, regardless of what their purpose is. The one exception to that is the farmers market. Bright, colorful banners, tarps covering big assortments of colorful fruits and vegetables and different wares, anything from weapons to toys for the younger children. You can find so many things there. The farmers market, it is one of the hallmarks of Farinth because they have the sea just to the north of them. People are bringing in fresh fish on ice, things like that. They dig up different root vegetables and ores from the ground. It is, despite being in the middle of a desert, a flourishing farmers market community. So, Urzak, you enter this little bastion of color and not tan, and you turn to your left to one of your favorite vendors, and she'll greet you with a friendly wave. She'll say, Urzak, come on over here. I know exactly what you want.
Great.
She'll haul a
I
big
was
basket. She has it already ready for you, full of uh, imperfect fruits, things with gashes out of them, things missing stems, things that are misshapen, apples that the core has been eaten part of the way through by insects, things like that. And she'll thud it down on the table. She'll say, "All this just for you. Won't sell to anybody else."
oh, uh, perfect. Thank you as always. How's business been?
Business, not bad, not good. But I've been saying that for 70 years, so who can really say?
Well, as always, I appreciate what you do for us in the community.
Of course, of course. Anything for our eternal blade. I knew it since year 16. I called it was you. I called it.
Well, you had pretty good odds at that point.
Right. Well, I never bet until there's a big chance for me to win. I had lots of money on either you or Gendrul, so you know. I buy lots of fruit with that money, Urzak. Thank you. I should be thanking you. I should be thanking you. Thank you.
Well, I certainly don't condone gambling. However, uh, here is your share for the goods. Slide 10 gold or so, whatever food cost.
Yeah, we'll say 10 gold.
And he's going to bid her farewell. He's going to take the basket of produce, and he's going to head down to the local orphanage.
She'll take the money graciously, bid you farewell with another friendly wave, and she'll see you on your way. And at the orphanage, so you walk down the main street, and on your left, you see your old barracks where you would have been training the past 15 years of your life. And directly across the street, almost ironically placed, where children just come out of the orphanage and right over to the training barracks, is the orphanage, the Fairth Orphanage, and the orphanage is overseen, sort of, by Gendrul. It has been. She grew up there partially until she was selected. And she's a little bit older than you, but by only a couple years. But she feels at home there, and she feels like she's responsible for caring for some of those children. So you can typically find her there. And the other sibling that you would be able to find there, that you would be very familiar with, that went through the trials with you until the 15th year, the 16th year. He was also in the running for the shopkeeper to possibly win that big pot at the end. Was one of your brothers, Luxor. You can also find him there as well.
Yeah, just gonna walk in and you know, food in hand, approach, and I guess look for an adult.
Yeah, Luxor will be there, right in the doorway. Typically stands, puts up post towards the front of the building, just in case anybody that he doesn't deem necessary to be in the orphanage comes in. He can quickly usher them out. But he has a big smile on his face as he sees you come in. He says, brother, welcome. I see you've brought some food.
Yes, as always. Need to keep the children fed well.
And he'll take a couple
I guess
off
you
the
as well.
top and toss them to a few of the younger children that are in there, and they snatch them up and start eating them right away as they're kind of running through, playing, or whatever they do. Whatever Dragonborn kids do.
Those rascals.
And he'll take one for himself, and he'll say, you ready for your meeting tonight? I hear this one's a big one.
They always say that.
I think you're missing the point, Urzak. In order to get actual good things done, sometimes you have to rub shoulders with the ones that matter. You can't just go out there and swing your sword and hope to do good.
Well, I don't know. I have much to learn.
I suppose so. Life is more than bringing rotten fruit to kids in the orphanage.
It's not rotten. Well, most of it. Just two birds with one stone. Help out the merchants and help out the kids. Besides, a little bacteria helps them grow strong. Just like us, right?
I suppose this is why you made it to the end and I was about 4 years short.
Well, I think next time we'll send you to this political meeting and see who really made the right choice.
I would take your place there any day. You know, I have the gift of gab, even if that is where you lack.
Don't know. It's hard for hard for me to not say what's on my mind.
I know.
They always want me to say what they want to hear.
I keep telling you, sometimes you just have to say that. But I know that you never will. I get it. And then Urzok and Luxor will start taking individual fruits and vegetables and other food items, some breads possibly, and they start passing them out to kids, continuing their conversation on from there. Uh, from there, we are going to travel east over to the port town of Charvassus. We're going to find ourselves in the elite part of the city. Charvassus is the second largest city on the continent, very similar in demographic to the capital city. There is a smaller, uh, high 1% elite estate way, um, 7 or 8 huge estates, different families that have lineages tracing almost back to the beginning, the inception of the continent. We're going to find ourselves in one particular estate. This is House Wellerby. And it looks like there are several guests coming in and out of the door. It is a cocktail party of sorts. Everybody is dressed very finely. You don't see a speck of dust in sight. The house is immaculate. There is food everywhere, drink everywhere. There are servants everywhere, bustling back and forth, heading in and out of the kitchen into a huge dining room that leads out into a huge ballroom. There's music playing. There's a live trio of elven bards that is popular in Charvassus that typically gets hired for these parties. And everybody seems to, on the surface, be having a very good time. On the other end of the house, it's much more quiet. There is a dumbwaiter that goes from the back of the kitchen down to one of the basements. And crawling into this dumbwaiter, you see a younger version of Vern Wellerby. Trent, would you please introduce your character?
Yeah, so my character is Vern Wellerby. He comes from a very wealthy family, obviously. They live in Dragonfall Manor. Because they're not dragonborn, they're human, but they do have sorcery in their blood, and so they come from an old bronze dragon, and these gifts have been sort of passed down through the family. And the family, although being wealthy and obviously magical, they throw these parties a lot to try to earn the respect of the other wealthy families, which kind of either because they're jealous or they just see them as being kind of tainted. They don't really like to rub shoulders with the Wellerbys, and so young Vern, he's aware of this, and he hates these parties a lot, which is why I am now promptly, I'm guess, crawling into that little elevator down into the servants' quarters.
So it's a really old school dumbwaiter. There's an open top and 2 cables running through the center. And you've done this hundreds of times, if not more. Mm-hmm. Wheel yourself down. It's the fastest and quietest way to get down to your sub basement without being detected. A few of the staff know. I think that they know you don't like to mingle with your parents' friends at their parties, so they kind of help you sneak down there. But you get down there, and you find yourself in a long hallway, which you follow all the way to the end and leads you outside. And you kind of turn a corner around your estate and run down the street, and you find yourself in one of the slums of your neighborhood. Your estate, almost just like the orphanage and the barracks in Farinth, uh, like a slap in the face to everybody that's less than middle class. The elite have their estates built right butt up against a very poor neighborhood. And you don't really like that, or you're, I guess, apathetic to it at your young age. But you just want to find other kids to play with. So you now are walking down the path to one of your now friends' houses, which, in comparison to your house, is maybe half of one of your bathrooms. It's very small. And you enter without knocking. It's almost like you are family there.
Yeah, so
And
casual. I love that.
it's very casual. They almost expect you most nights anyway. Not like your parents would notice that you're gone either way. And you walk in and you see one of your good friends who is a a very very poor child of two very poor working class people, a human girl named Harriet.
Okay. Hey, Harriet. Ugh, they're doing it again. Having one of those parties.
Are the Zaxby's there? Because the Zaxby's hate your parents.
Oh yes, they're there because they're waiting for the first possible chance of something going wrong so they can talk about it. I check my pockets and I pull out various pastries that I stole off of the my parents' house and I give them to Harriet.
She'll take them and just start eating them right away.
Okay.
And she'll be like, "Thank you so much. These are always so good." And she's kind of hunched over a table, like eating these, I don't know, macaroons or something, whatever they are, whatever you have at a half elf party.
I want them to be cut out little elf head cookies. Is what they are, with little faces on them.
Perfect. You
They,
got
they definitely have macaroons there for sure. That was a good call.
fudge stripes.
That may be a little heavy. I don't know.
So she's like getting crumbs everywhere, all over the table, and but also on the table you see uh, little pieces of metal and wood that she is wiring together, and she's using little tools that you have come to know as Tinker's tools, and she is making a small little arm move back and forth.
Oh, Harriet, that's
And
so
she's like,
cool.
I've been working all day on it. I finally found the scraps I needed to get it to work. I'm so excited. And she keeps like stuffing cookies in her face. And she looks over at you for approval, and she finds it, and that makes her even happier.
It's awesome. Like, what are you uh, um okay, above game. Am I still in one piece right now?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. I was trying
Yes.
to think here. 'Cause I don't know
Yeah.
I don't want to ask the question
This is
ooh.
about this big. It's like 3 or 4 inches tall. So,
Oh, okay, it's like a little
but that's
thing.
coming.
I see.
That's
I see.
coming.
I get it. I get it. I don't want to be like, ooh, hey, what's it for? As I'm like waving my nub around or something. Um, yeah. So, ooh, that's so cool, Harriet. What else can you make it do?
Well,
Or is it just
that's not the, not the question I thought you'd ask. That's so funny. She'll turn it around. It's kind of like on a little turntable, and she'll rotate the table around, and she'll kind of spark a couple things that she's working on, and it'll like wave at you. And she's like, I think with enough tools, maybe a better workshop, or like an actual workshop. If I had a place that I could actually work on this stuff, I could make a like a human size arm, like something really big.
wow. Still just arms though, huh? That's okay. You're doing the arms so well, Harriet. That's so cool. Um, well,
Well, she's kind
what
of
all do you
she's kind of
need?
upset about that because she's like, well, I'm sorry that I live in a shack and I don't have all the resources in the world like you do, Vern.
Yeah,
I have to look through actual garbage. I have to look through garbage. I went down to the dock the other day, and I found a little kid's toy boat, and I disassembled the toy boat for one panel of steel to use for this arm. Do you want to spend 3 hours disassembling a toy boat, Vern, to make a little mechanical arm? This took me 8.5 hours, Vern.
I'm sorry. I slide another macaroon out of my pocket, like as a peace offering.
She will grab it immediately. Thank you, and shove it in her mouth.
You know, there's so much just like stuff at my parents' house that's just lying around. I can get you more of what you need. You can build other things.
I mean, well, I would love to build a full suit. I feel like that would be so cool if I could find a suit that I could just sit in and operate from inside. That would be amazing.
Well, you have an eye for these kinds of things, so why don't you come back with me? We'll sneak into my parents' house and we'll see what we can find.
That sounds great. Could we go now?
Yeah, no one's paying attention.
All right. So she will follow you out of her house. And you run back up the street, kind of sneak back down that basement corridor, get back into the dumbwaiter. It's a little bit heavy for you with two people in there, but with her help, you both kind of manage to pull yourselves back up into the back servant's kitchen. And you both crawl out, and immediately you sense that something is not right. When you left, there were, and I would say we fast tracked that. We'll say you were at her house for an hour and a half, talking about those things. Nobody is in this servant's kitchen. Usually, there's at least 3 or 4 people there preparing meals, expediting dishes out to the dining room, cooking new food, things like that. And it's completely empty, still lit. There are tools out on the counters. There's even a pot with something cooking, overcooked now for sure, on a lit stove. But no people there.
Harriet, this is really strange.
Yeah, I just thought that you guys had like thousands of people running around these houses. I don't know what happens inside of here.
yeah, not quite that many, but definitely, I've never seen it empty like this. We should head up and try to find my parents and ask them what's going on.
So you head out of the servants' kitchen, back through some of their quarters. The typical route that you take, kind of a roundabout way to get to the dumbwaiter to get out. You've perfected this route. You've done it so many times. You do it without even thinking, almost leaving Harriet behind because you do it so quickly, and it's just muscle memory at this point. But she keeps up. And you get up to the main level, and you start to hear more talking, more normal sounds for your house, especially during a party. It seems to be heightened a little bit. And you get back up to the main floor, and one of the servants looks over, maybe 15, 20 feet away, hears you approaching, and her eyes are wide. She couldn't find you. She and some of the other servants have been looking for you, and she notices you approaching. She says, "Vern, you can't go in there."
Why not?
Vern, we've been looking all over for you. She starts to break down. Her eyes are welling up, and it's difficult for her to speak. And she just gives you a big hug.
I awkwardly give a little half hug back. As a child that doesn't know how to process emotions or anything like this.
Right. We'll say you're like 7, 8 at this point.
8,
yeah, you're what, 18 during the campaign, present day?
No, actually, I'm like 30.
Oh, okay. I don't know where I got that number from.
Okay.
Okay,
but I'm young.
that still works.
I'm still picturing like
30
under
is fine.
10 for these experiences. These
Yeah.
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 So then I want to kind of break away from her, and I want to push my way into the room. Like
So
I
the
want to
room that
ignore
you
her
were,
stopping me and going to the.
she will kind of reach for you. She is now fully overcome. She is verklempt, and she is now just crying by herself. The room that you are pushing into is one of the smaller ballrooms. It's probably about 100 by 40 feet. So smaller room for your house. Yeah, smaller ballroom anyway. And there is a huge group of people, possibly all of the guests from the party, all off to one side on the far end of the ballroom. And they hear the door creak open. At least some of them on the fringe. And they look over. They're terrified that you are walking in. Some of them may not have even known that you were home. And they kind of. Some of them have mixed reactions. Some of them are trying to dissuade you. Some of them see you and immediately start crying. And some of them just look shocked. They don't have any type of facial expression at all, just white faced. And Harriet starts running towards the crowd.
Yeah, I mean I'm running with her towards the crowd. I want to push my way through them, like at hip level or wherever I am as an 8-year-old.
Breaking into the center of the crowd, you see at first you don't see what is on the ground. There are 3 people hunched over the ground. One of them is moving up and down. You don't know what chest compressions are at this point, but that's what they're doing. And the other 2, one of them is casting some sort of magic. You don't have any grasp on how to use your powers or what magic even looks like at this level of casting right now, so you couldn't fathom a guess what they're doing. One of them turns over. They kind of his head turns over his left shoulder. He sees you, and it just looks like a look of defeat. There's nothing to be done. You're already there. You're obviously going to see what you're going to see. And he rolls over and just puts his head in his hands. Below where this man was is the body of your mother.
Just my mother?
And as you see the other 2 men that were hunched over, they kind of follow suit. And one of them gets up, kind of breaks through the crowd, and does one of these, just like. And you see your father lying next to her, hands almost touching even, next to each other, lying
So
lifeless on the ground.
mm-hmm. I go and try to shake my mother first.
And there are people that are reacting to this, and they're trying to pull you off of her, and they're saying things like, it's too late. I'm so sorry, Vern. We tried to do everything we could.
And I say no, and I shove them off me, and I run to my father, and I shake him. Dad.
Same thing. That nothing is happening. Nothing that you are doing is helping him at all. He remains motionless.
Okay. I stumble back a little bit, and I'm looking around at all the faces, but not like really seeing them. And
They are all staring right at you.
And I turn away and I sprint, and I want to retreat exactly kind of back to my safe space, like away from all the luxury and wealth in this room. Just race back like to the kitchens, and as far as I get before I like just can't run anymore because I'm just, grief stricken, I
We're going to leave young Vern for now, and we are going to. Wonderful job. I know that you didn't prepare any of that, so
It's like, oh boy.
we are going to jump over to the opposite coast of the continent, to the southwestern town of New Ponteg, which is the origin city of Eric, the son of a blacksmith. Eric, we meet up with you as you are leaving your forge, and you are on your way to the local university. At this time, um, you're having trouble deciding um, if you want to follow in your father's footsteps or open up your mind, enlighten yourself with more education. You know that New Ponteg is known for having a school of this caliber, one of the only in this caliber across the entire continent. You feel very blessed that it is a few minutes' walk from your house. So you are approaching the university in the center of your town.
So yeah, on this walk, I mean, it's just a nice campus and everything. Generally, I guess Eric likes to walk through the city and meet as many of the townsfolk and all that. I would imagine there's a little bit of history background with the city that the casters eventually do take the city. So my father also blacksmith. We specialize in armor, and that's our trade. That's how we make money. He's there to fight off the casters and defend the city. Try to lead a defense of the city, and I don't know. I'm pretty young as an elf, so I only see that as an adolescent, and I think if I'm walking and I have my own forge, this is probably after some of that. But but yeah, Eric is a the elf from Ponteg really holds to those traditions where the city itself is all about free thought and definitely doesn't want a king and hereditary lines, to control. So they just want to have freedom, and it's very, very progressive and liberal.
On this specific day, there is a line up in the, I guess, the main gathering place inside of the union of sorts, whatever the union would be called in New Ponteg of this university, the grand meeting place, and there are several um, impoverished families there, possibly homeless, um, and you are carrying some hardwood shields and some. You make some armor plating with the exoskeletons of some of the larger crustaceans. If they wash up naturally on the beaches of New Ponteg, you'll use those to craft armor and weapons as well. Um, and you're there to help arm the poor. If they don't have the money to buy protection for themselves, so every now and then you find one of these drives, and you try and give some of your, sometimes even your finer wares, to some of these people that don't have the option to buy it themselves. So you enter the university, and you are immediately greeted by your father, who got here before you. He closed the forge down early today, and he'll call you over to a table where he's setting up some of his more rudimentary weapons and armor. And he'll say, "Eric, over here."
I mean, come and get it. Just sprint over. His dad's pretty like a dominating, voice, so he's just kind of a commanding
I'm assuming he's a pretty big guy too, from how you've described him.
Sure.
Yeah, quite a force to see. He's a very broad man. Looks a lot like Eric. I would assume maybe Eric models his look off of his father. Giant uh, Tom Selleck mustache. Actually, looks a lot like Tom Selleck, pretty much. Just picture Tom Selleck with 50 extra pounds of muscle on him, and that's Eric's dad. And he calls you over and he says, "Is that all you brought? I thought we decided we were going to give most of the shop away today."
I didn't know I was doing this. Actually, was gonna also protest and stand out in the courtyard and talk about homeless feeding themselves, also defending themselves, the poor, and
And
I didn't know what
go
you
ahead.
had
Sorry.
planned. Ted.
He'll almost feel a little bit bad that he got on your case right away, because he does follow that too. Um, he'll say, "Yeah, I did forget that you mentioned that earlier. I guess I should have brought more over on the cart myself. Sorry about that. You know I'm too old for that protest stuff. I leave that all up to you and your friends."
That's why we'll rule the city one day.
I'm sure you will. Well, help me unload this, and then you can head on out there and say whatever you want to say, I guess. So you unload all the armor that you had brought over from your forge, and your dad thanks you, and he kind of sets you on your way. So where are you going at this point?
I probably would go maybe to the university, uh, say student union.
That's where you are right now.
I'll just stay here.
Okay.
Gotta hope for a crowd and get the conversation
Yeah.
going.
So I'll say that you wait a couple, so maybe an hour. As you're waiting, you're kind of talking with some of the locals, some of the uh, less fortunate. You're handing out what wares they seem to be interested in, and then a few of your friends that are also students at the university start showing up, and they bring with them a small crowd, and they notice you're here. They see that the armory table is a pretty popular table, and they come up and one one guy will say, "Oh, Eric's here. He always beats us here, man. How do you always get here so early?"
Um, the fires of the forge keep me going.
The fires
They
of the
tire
forge, dude.
they
That's
tire
so
me.
good.
I get a good night's rest. Start early. I wake early.
Oh, that's man, Eric. I don't know if there's anybody more qualified to rile these people up than you today, man. I am not as well rested as you, clearly. So go right ahead. Give it to him. What do we believe in?
Well, you do
Come
seem
on, and
restless.
he'll pat you on the back and like kind of push you out into the front.
Oh,
Like, do it, man. And now it's like he's very loud, so people are like looking over, kind of noticing what's going on, walking to your location. So you have about 50, 60 people there, um, just waiting to hear what you have to say.
yeah. Aaron, I know you just watched French Dispatch, but this is Timothy Chalamet's character. So yeah, I mean, yeah,
I'm
he's just
ready.
gonna
Yeah.
go through all his liberal ideas and economic prosperity for the city, basically with probably caster guards nearby, not being too So he's just going to be subtle, you know, and what he's hinting at.
At this point, I believe I have to check my timeline, so I might be contradicting myself. But I don't think that there would be any caster presence in your city, like passively.
Yeah. Okay. So I see where you have me. You have me.
Yeah,
Pretty
just
young,
before.
but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just kind of riling up the crowd and maybe not having the anti-caster sentiment, but maybe an anti-invader sentiment. It was just the city. This is a city that's just along the coast and beautiful weather, and so there is always trade. So he's gonna be, basically just hoping everyone gets jobs and has rights to jobs, and we're here today for the poor who, you know, they need our help. So stand up
So
for your
everybody, roll a performance check.
Okay. 7 plus 1, so 8.
Lukewarm reception. I think the crowd was expecting the energy from the other guy, but they are receptive to what you're saying. So they kind of go up to your friend and ask if you have any like pamphlets or anything written down that has more information on what your student organizations are trying to do, and then a large chunk of the group just leaves. They walk out. But there is one person that stays behind. It's a taller man, kind of dark black hair, and he walks up to you, and he'll say, I never had much patience for loud voices. You seem to be more the quiet type, but more intelligent type, I feel. Mind you, you have no idea who this is.
Right. So he'll speak to some sort of effect that, yeah, you don't have to have a loud voice to mean and do what you mean and be what you're about.
My young friend, I have made quite a long career doing just that. What say you come work for me?
I have nothing else, that I want. I mean, I don't want to leave these cities and this city and these people. It's great here. Do you live here?
No, sir. I'm
I-
from out east.
Mm-hmm. What do you do? If you don't mind me asking.
I suppose I could say I am a political leader, but many might disagree.
Well, in politics, I mean, disagreeing is just that's common.
Comes with the territory, my friend. I
Is
know.
yeah.
Well, if you ever find yourself in the capital city, just ask someone on the street about Robert, and I will find my way to you. You have a good day now, okay?
Capital, okay, Robert.
Fucking
Good money to
creepy.
be made there.
And and he will uh, give you like a reassuring pat on the shoulder, knowing that you are very anti-caster, even though you didn't
Mm.
say it outright. He can read that enough in the words that you spoke, and he will exit. With that, we're going to jump to the middle of the continent. Um, and this is going to be right in the middle of the wilds, which the whole first chapter we did not talk about at all. Um, but these are barren lands, uninhabitable. The soil is not able to grow anything. Uh, there are a couple small nomadic tribes that live out here that are used to the harsher elements and used to storing weeks and weeks of rations to stay alive. But far and away, it is overrun by monsters, by magical creatures, and very intense weather conditions, both hot and cold, depending on how low in the elevation you travel in a desert dip or high on some of the larger sand dunes. It could be cold or extremely hot. But we're going to go back uh, just about 250 years from when this campaign is taking place. Um, this is during a great battle, a battle that all six of you would be very familiar with. It is the what is seen as the turning point of the Two-Faced War. It is something that turned the tide for the casters, where great numbers of troops were eliminated all in one blow for the two warring kingdoms. And this is called the Battle of Sorrow. As we kind of pan down onto this desert landscape, it's later at night. There, you hear shouting, the clashing of swords. There are mounted knights. You hear horses neighing and galloping around the battlefield. Men and women of every type of race, every type of age. There are very young people fighting. There are very old people fighting. Over the horizon, as you're looking at this great expanse, people from both sides just decimating each other. You see a huge, hulking figure step out onto the battlefield. Surrounding this giant figure, you see another smaller figure flying in the air and landing next to figure one, and a third figure that seems to be coming up from the ground to stand up this figure. And this giant, massive creature starts walking slowly into the middle of the battle. Billy, would you please introduce your character?
Yes. If I find where I put his description. Yes, there it is. Of course, under description. Yeah, so you would see a massive, large mechanical humanoid, warforged, primarily composed of bright silver steel, wearing a very large red and gold embroidered trench coat with a high collar, and has made out of glass in the center of his forehead an S. And it's made out of clear glass, so you could see into it, but it is glowing, let's say, yellowish kind of hue, vibrating with energy. Uh, Heavily armored, just it's probably hard to tell, but just massive plates of steel just built in to the body, and yeah, it definitely has a look of focus and determination on his face, which is probably very difficult to tell because he is made of metal.
So you see this giant hulking creature literally just walk into battle. He's getting hit by by swords. The stray magic missile is catching him because he just walks into the line of fire. He is on a mission, and across the battlefield, uh, you, Billy, would see your target, which is a small bunker. You could see where the land actually drops off, where they've dug out their own bunker. Um, and the caster banneret is kind of haphazardly stuck into the dirt behind this bunker. They are camping out, waiting for a good chance for them to exercise their guerrilla warfare, uh, picking off one or two people from the other sides when they can, but largely hiding inside of that bunker. And you were just beasting through these troops. We're talking like for scope for everybody else. This is like many levels over 20, like god tier levels that he has power wise right now. Just sponging all of this firepower. And you get to the edge of the bunker. There's about 16 soldiers inside, and they all look up at you and your yellow glowing face, and just scream in terror. They've heard stories of the 13K series Warforged that were created to kill them. And none of them actually believed that they would see one, or even that you were real, that they would see one of you in person. So it's a mix of shock and fear. And as you descend into the bunker, the guy that's right in front of you kind of puts his hands up. He's like, wait, please. I have a family.
Just immediately just bash his head in. No remorse.
And other men in the bunker are trying to give you similar pleas. No, wait.
Just keeps on going.
So you mow all of these guys down, and you are now greeted with a long trench, almost too narrow for you to even fit through. But you see down the trench, so dozens more, right? Dozens more caster troops that maybe don't even notice that you're there yet. You killed their friends so quickly that they didn't even have a chance to hear them scream loudly enough to alert them. And as you look up into the sky, you're about to go down this trench. You look up into the sky, and descending down in front of you is another one of your Warforged teammates. This one, you for the record are K13. I know that you know this. The K series Warforged. They're named the K series because they are specifically designed to kill casters. So they are kill caster unit 1 through 13. And K6 descends down in front of you, almost like thrusters under her feet. She drops down and she'll say, across the battlefield to the north. That's the one we're here to get.
Let's move.
You climb out of the trench. You start moving north across the battlefield. And you come up to a small hut, I guess. The casters, the way that they would fight in this war, they had a theory that if they moved in small enough numbers, they didn't use mass armies. They always traveled in groups of 15 or less, and they would set up small, tiny outposts surrounding other armies and just take people out one by one. And that had worked pretty well. It's very slow moving, but it worked okay for them up until this point. And this is a small makeshift shack. K6 No emotion, just like you. She says, inside, and starts walking forward. She tries the door, and the door is locked. So she turns back to you, and she says, go for it.
Just take my big fucking foot, just kick the kick the handle.
The you hit it with so much force that it breaks part of the wall in as well. The lock that they use is some type of bar lock, and that was a mistake because where that bar went through into the wall, all of that just rips inward, and you leave a giant circular hole in the front of the hut. And inside, there is you see three people. Two of them closer to you, much like the other people in the bunker, turn around, shock and fear. Basically, Eric below 30% health, shitting their pants. Uh, the third figure is positioned, leaning over a table, looking at a map, and he looks up at you just like it's Tuesday, like nothing really matters. And casually, he will start writing a glyph with his fingers in the air. And he starts to open a gate before your eyes. And he'll look you dead in the emotionless eyes in your metal face. He'll say, until next time, my friend. And he will drop down through the gate in the floor. The two guys in front of him are like, wait, he didn't take us with him. Uh-oh. And they look back at you. And they just like, what is there left to do?
Yeah.
What is? So they just they will start to pray.
Is there? Because I don't know much about the pantheon. Is it like a select few gods?
At this point, they are probably praying to one of the origin gods. There's a pantheon called the Presidium. 6 gods that came over from a mainland somewhere else and helped to create the continent. Likely, they are praying to one of those.
Since they're praying, he would.
You can make a religion check or a history check.
12.
12. You would assume based on their garb and the way that they're praying that they would be praying to the Earth Mother, Melora, who is the original goddess to come over and gather a group of gods to create this new world. So she is the impetus for Azura even existing.
Hmm. I would give them a moment. Then after they've said their piece, they've already accepted it, so finish the job. Sort of.
So as you how do you kill them?
Just you know, just go behind them, and then put both, put one of their heads in each of my big fucking hands, and then just break both their necks. Yep.
Brutal. As you are doing this, so you now are behind them, looking out the door hole that you've created. Snap their necks, and you can see from within this structure. Actually, you hear it first. You hear it first. Just the most unsettling, loudest thing that you have ever heard in your life. Just it's like a. It's hard to describe. It's just like you hear from outside. It's like, and then silence. They're only ringing. You feel a shockwave and a bright light from outside of this hut. You step back outside, glassed. No more moving soldiers, no more horses, no more magic, no more sound. Everything is flat. You look around to your right, you see K6, who possibly saw something coming beforehand, and got out of the way. You do not see your other fellow Warforged that you arrived with. And K6 lands next to you, and you can tell something's wrong. And at this point, you both recall the ideals that you agreed to when you were brought into service by the Sith Kingdom. That if you are in any danger of being compromised, they're pretty sure that you won't be because they made you very strong. But if there's any doubt in your mind that you could be hurt or injured or taken captive, used for any type of parts or information, just take yourself out. And she lands, and she'll look up at you, and you can see that the right side of her body has been damaged. Like her hull has been compromised, her outer shell. And there's some scrapes across the rest of her body, almost like she was knocked out of the air. She was hit by the wave, knocked out of the air, and hit the ground with incredible force. She looks up at you, and much like the rest of your conduct here during the battle, no emotion. She says, "It's been nice working with you, K13." And she will take her hand and reach up and grab your hand and put it around her neck.
Are you that badly damaged?
I've lost functionality of my upper thigh system and my entire right arm. So she reached with her left hand, actually.
Yeah. Am I aware of standard protocol for this, as far as
you would both be aware. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Time to crush.
She's much smaller than you. She was obviously built for speed and for flight, more evasive hand-to-hand combat. So she folds like tinfoil between your fingers, and you now are charged with taking her body back to your home base.
Yep.
So we leave K13 right now carrying a crushed Warforged alone. He is now the only one left in that battle. Silently, he walks across the battlefield, assuming that he will just walk the same way until he gets to where he's going. Now we're going to jump to the northeast section of the continent, to a city called Glave's Edge. And this is located in the Valley of the Falling Leaves, which in this present day is known for producing the first champion of the Tides. Uh, it's also the home of Crowbar, the half orc. You find Crowbar early mid morning. Crowbar, what are you doing on a typical day?
What time period is this before or after he gets the glaive?
Let's say, we'll say right before.
Okay. So, he is preparing to. He's got like a morning ritual that he goes through before any sort of challenge, and he's about to take part in the tribal gauntlet, I guess you could call it, to determine who shows the most valor and honor in the tribe. Funny enough, though, he's Crowbar's always had a thing for nature over the tribe itself and other people. So I think when you would first see him, he'd be having kind of a Disney princess moment with all the animals around and everything, petting squirrels and stuff. Um, just kind of like meditating, I guess, communing and touching the sky metaphorically out in the forest. Um, just kind of psyching himself up, and he is looking. There's an art to it. He needs to go find the perfect tree to practice his routines on. It needs to be just dead enough that it's not too weak and gives in to his punches, but it needs to be dead so that the surrounding animals don't get angry with him for destroying nature. So between the forest itself and like right there where the mountain ridge meets the forest is where those trees tend to congregate. So he finds himself in that area often for training. But as far as right now, yeah, he's just going through his ritual.
And you'll going through your ritual, and know, for someone in your position, for someone that's raised in your tribe, that's largely a warring tribe that raises their young outside of their biological families. Uh, the end goal is to achieve success in this trial, and to know that it's coming up in just a few short hours. It's all of this training that you've been doing for years. Your whole life is coming down to this moment today.
Mm-hmm.
And you start to doubt yourself. What if I'm not good enough? What if I don't have the skills that I know that I have? But you find yourself wandering through the forest as you're going through your formations, and you wind up at a familiar location for you now. Um, but I wonder if I have. There we go. You wind up at this mountain, and you take it as a sign. There's a single tree at the top of this mountain, and you begin to climb. You get up to this tree, you sit underneath it, and there is a voice that kind of pervades your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
It's very slow, very calming, and it will say to you reassuringly, Crowbar, the glaive belongs to you.
Do I have any sort of idea what the voice would be at this point?
At this point, I don't think so. It's directly tied to the glaive. So I think once you get it, you understand.
Okay. So I think he's
this
more.
is just a voice in your head right now.
He's more addressing his own self doubt over the fact that a voice is just somehow speaking to him right now and not even addressing it. He's just like, what makes you say that?
I can see the present. I can see the past. I can see the future. Time is not linear, or how I can see through it. So I know that the glaive belongs to you.
Regardless of what you say, that remains to be seen. It can't. If
Well,
it were
you're
simply mine, there wouldn't. I wouldn't be who I need to be to have it.
How else would you randomly wander up my hill and sit beneath my tree, only to not believe my advice? You will find success later today.
Okay. I think he's kind of at a point where he's not really going to question it too much further. I think it kind of did the trick in his simpler mind.
So
but he will look around a little bit to see where the voice could be coming from.
There's nothing.
Okay.
It's like if you it's like coming from the center of your head, it seems. Like if
Okay.
you look behind you, it still
Yeah.
feels like it's behind you.
Okay. He's gonna take a seed from the tree and then start to climb back down.
A wise choice, Crowbar. I will be speaking with you shortly.
All right. After he climbs back down the mountain, he's going to find like a clearing in near the area where he normally trains and find a good open space to plant that.
Okay. So as you plant this, as you're putting it in the ground, I assume with your affinity for nature, you do it with great care. You make sure that it's deep enough. You make sure that it has enough breadth. It's not close to anything else. Make sure that it has optimal conditions to grow healthily.
Mm.
And it doesn't seem to do anything after you plant it. And you're just looking at dirt that you have brushed over a seed.
Yep. Yeah. He wasn't expecting anything to happen right away, but he did get a sense of some sort of special significance, and he does have a plan for what he wants to do with that seed eventually.
Awesome. Where are you going now?
I think after that, he would much more confidently just kind of stray into town and start to feed off the energy of the crowd.
As you're walking into the square of Glaive's Edge, it's not a huge community, but I mean you're all half orcs, and you're all well versed in what this means for one of you. And you, as sort of an outsider from your training, you not only are not assumed to win this, I would say that the crowd openly believes that you will be knocked out very soon in this contest. Could you explain what the contest looks like, or what it entails?
It's basically, I guess, sort of like an obstacle course. It's like with as many like natural obstacles as they can put in place. Except the trick to it is that the more years go by, the less like a lot of the ways that you would normally traverse the course are either worn down, damaged, broken, so you either have to brute force your way through a less useful route or you have to reinvent the course yourself in some way.
Nice. So on this particular trial, you are one of 9 that are competing. You are not the biggest. You know that you are not the strongest. You're probably not the smartest. And everybody, or at least most of the crowd, seems to agree with you. Uh, and as they're explaining the rules, they're saying much of what you just said to the 9 of you, and then obviously to the crowd who is listening. Uh, you stop focusing on what the announcer is saying, and that the voice pervades your mind again. And it'll say, "Go straight. Make the new path. Don't take the old path, as all the others will, and you will come out on top."
Okay.
And as you are coming out of that, you hear a huge clap, and the announcer smacks 2 pieces of hardwood together, and that signifies the start of the trial. So everybody gets a head start out from you. You're kind of coming out of this vision, and they're already 15, 20 feet ahead of you as you start moving. First obstacle, you have a choice between going through a well-established path to the right, have a less established series of logs across a shallow stream to the left, or a very thick, almost seemingly impassable hedge in the center.
There's what? There's the logs and the hedge.
There's the typical path. This is the first thing you encounter. So typically people go the path to the right. There is a slightly more dangerous path to the left with some floating logs on a stream.
Okay.
And then a very thick hedge in the center.
Okay. I think he will opt to go through the hedge.
Okay. So I'm going to have you make an athletics check for me, please.
Okay. Dirty 20.
Okay. Yeah, so as you are approaching the hedge, you're already behind. You can't really see anybody else in front of you. They're running basically down a straight path, so they are moving at a much faster clip than you are trying to climb a hedge. And as you are climbing this hedge, you get maybe 6-7 feet up off the ground, and the hedge gives way. You can reach inside of the hedge. It's an illusory wall. And you climb in, and it's like a slide. So you see inside of this hedge, very sleek hardwood. Nobody has ever seen this before. This is knowledge to you, and probably to everybody else, because this course is made decades ago. So nobody that was there for the inception of it is still alive even. So what do you do?
Use it, but can I see where it leads?
Yeah, so with your vision, it's a little bit darker, but you can still see a solid 60-70 feet ahead of you. It goes straight for about 40 feet. Pretty steady drop at the beginning, and then it kind of plateaus out and then curves sharply off to the left. So you do not know where it goes after that.
Okay. I'll keep following it, I guess.
All right, so you are sliding down, and as you're going through, it's starting to wind past that first curve, and slides down. You are met at the very bottom with a very hard fall, unexpected. It's darker now. You can still see a little bit. You have dark vision, so you can see perfectly fine. Good for you.
Okay.
And it's about 20 by 30 foot room. There is a very frail looking little man there, just sitting down there.
Okay.
And he looks up at you, and he was like, he says, "Are you real?"
Yes.
You can see me?
Yes.
And he kind of staggers over to you. And no personal space, no bubble whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Just starts touching you, unable to comprehend that you are a real being.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long I've been down here. They told me to build this slide, and then they never let me out.
Can he see a way out that's forward ahead of him?
Yes. So on the other side of the room, he points over, and this is a small guy. He's probably like 3'5", 4 feet tall. They never told me that the guy that built that ladder was 8 feet tall. And he points to the other side of the room. And there's a ladder well within your reach that he cannot reach.
Okay. Then I'll offer to take him out. Because I have to go anyway, so.
Oh, thank you. Oh, this is such good news. What a good day. So he'll kind of climb up onto your shoulders.
Yep.
And you climb out the ladder. And on the other side of the ladder, you are about 6 feet from the finish line.
Oh, okay. All right, I guess we'll just cross it then. Is there anybody waiting there for us?
So many people. Basically, the entire village is there waiting to
Except the other 8.
Except for the other 8.
Okay.
Nobody else is there. You are the clear first person to arrive.
Okay.
And this guy, this little man, hops off of your shoulders. And after you cross the finish line, he kind of looks around the crowd and scans. And he stops at one person. And he says, "Frederick?" And he runs out into the crowd and embraces another similarly small, well, comparatively small half-orc, probably 6 foot tall, 5.5, 6 feet tall. And they embrace. Both of them are crying. And the whole, that side of the group just looks at them, and they're just awestruck. And Frederick, the guy that this little man had run up to, he said, I never gave up hope." This is a very elderly half-orc, very elderly guy. He's like, "I never gave up hope that I would see my Franz again. I never sought out another love." And then they embrace and they hold hands and they walk back to Frederick's hut, wherever he lives. And now everybody turns their attention back to you, who they did not think would be the first person to finish. And the guy that the half-orc that had been announcing at the beginning, he is there, and he says, "There are no bounds for how a half-orc may finish. Crowbar the winner." And as he lifts your arm, you feel in your other hand, like he'll use his left hand to raise up your right hand, and in your left hand you feel the most comfortable handle forming of wood, hardwood, and steel, just materializing in your hand. And you look over, and you have what now you call is your signature weapon, the glaive of the bear. And you hear in your head, for the last time for quite a while, you won't hear this voice again for a long time, but it'll say very softly, "I am proud of you, Crowbar, and I told you." And then it'll trail off from there. And you have your glaive. You won. And all the other competitors are so mad.
Yeah. So I think if they're audibly showing how mad they are, he'll kind of turn around to him and just let out this monstrous roar and let the bear spirit kind of come out of him, and it'll shut them up right away.
So as you do that, the bear spirit, like the actual spectral form of the bear, presents itself for the first time, and it kind of takes you by surprise. But you're just like feeling yourself hard enough at that moment that you don't really even care. It just like launches out from behind you, and all 8 of them are like, "Yeah, okay, cool, we're good." We're all set. No, we don't need any trouble.
All right. I dig it.
We're going to go
real
ahead.
quick. I think once the roar of the crowd kind of settles down, he'll make his way back to where he planted the seed. The idea for that was he was going to grow it from the start to form like a workbench to refine the glaive and hold it and sharpen it and that sort of thing. So it's like his own little glaive sanctuary.
Nice. Yeah. So we'll say as you return to the seed for the first time, maybe even later that day or sometime relatively soon after you finished, it is already starting to sprout, and a small little tree is there. And it feels magical. It feels like it's protected, and that will grow and foster as long as you foster a respect for your weapon.
Right
All
on.
right, we're gonna head back over to the other side of the continent for the last little mini story here, and we're gonna land in the central west city of Isumel, which is just to the east of what's called the Dredge, which is an underground lava flow. It is the biggest, or is the, I guess, most fertile area for natural ore mining in the entire nation. So Isumel is a huge mining town. Anybody that is of the working class is a miner or some type of foreman that works in the mine. And that is no exception for our final party member, Brackle Baff. And Brackle, you're just getting off of a shift. We'll say you're just exiting the mine. And you are walking up to the miners' guild, the guild house, and you meet your uncle, Baron. He says, "Brackle, over here."
Hey, Baron, how's it going?
Oh, so well.
Did you strike any veins today?
I'm getting a little bit too old to be any solid use to the guild, but I did chip away at one wall, so I am pretty happy about that.
Oh, nice.
I made that wall my bitch, as they say.
I'm still trying to bolster up my muscles a little bit.
Oh, you'll get there. You'll get there. Come on, come inside. Have a drink with me and Theon.
Of course. Nothing better than a little relaxing after 12 hours in the mine.
Mm-hmm. Watch out for my wall crushing skills.
I always know where you've been, because that's usually where some roof starts to fall down a little bit.
Well, We don't have to talk about that, but let's just come on inside.
All right.
So he'll lead you inside into a bar area or tavern area, and behind the bar is the local guild master. For present day reference, this is very similar to a union, a workers' union. Has that vibe. Workers everywhere. There are miners walking down the halls. There are several at the bar, all talking about what they're going to do with their day off or some sort of miraculous find that they had over the past couple of weeks. Uh, he leads you up to the bar, and Theon, I will say, Brackle, welcome. Have a nice shift.
Oh yeah, I was down there with my crew and the foreman Jerry. He was really getting hard on us, but we made it out alive. There might be some dangerous kind of natural gas deposits where we were, so we may want to kind of stay away from the area we were getting close to. I helped mark it off. I'm gonna probably go down there tomorrow and put some warnings down there. Or, I don't know. Maybe we should kind of collapse that area.
Well, if you don't want to take the trouble, I can always go down myself and mark it off for you.
Oh no, it's fine. I can take care of it. That's it's no problem. I don't mind putting in the work.
And this one's on me. And he'll slide over an ale, a pint of ale.
Perfect.
I always want to recognize the extra effort.
Brackle will grab it and basically drink like 80% of it in a gulp. This is a little weak compared to where I came from.
Where is that? I don't think I've ever asked you.
Oh well, no, I'm Baron's nephew. I came from his sister up in the north a little bit. Back, we're farmers essentially. We were able to grow some pretty strong stuff out. We had a good still, using some of the grains out there.
I always like a nice grainy brew. You know me.
I didn't know that about you, Theon. I'll have to send for some drink back at the
Extra
homestead.
grainy. Make it as grainy as possible.
We'll leave all the chunks in there for you. No
I
problem.
would love that.
I'll even add some when we get back in town. I'll just sprinkle some crushed grain on top. Maybe some croutons if.
Oh, now you're speaking my language.
I'll do a crouton rim for you.
Another miner at the bar overhears that, and he's like, "That's fucking disgusting, Theon. Just the grossest." Theon will have him removed from the bar.
I think I think that would shock me a little bit. Like maybe he's doing it a little bit in jest, but I'm not completely sure.
Yeah, you never really know.
Like I was like, well, maybe I should. Yeah, maybe I'll cut that joke where I landed on it.
And he'll be really stern about removing that other guy, and then he'll turn back to you, and his smile returns, and he's like, "But really, like, extra grains, please."
I'll leave the croutons off.
And he'll kind of bid you adieu, and he'll start going and cleaning some glasses or wiping down some tables. He has a lot of responsibilities. Maybe somebody called off work today, so he has to come in and cover.
Yeah, I feel like you wouldn't normally see him behind the bar.
You don't typically see him back
in the office or something.
Correct. But Baron will turn to you, and he'll say, "You really should just let somebody in charge take care of that gas leak. I feel like that would be dangerous.
I don't mind. I mean, you've taken on so much bringing me here, and I really want to make sure the Bath name stays where it is. You know, yeah, I don't mind being down there in the dark. It's not a big deal. If not down there, I'm usually just at the house studying anyway. So
Let's say, speaking of that, I feel like there's a little mixer here tomorrow night. I know you don't typically like to go to those things, but maybe we could go together. A little uncle nephew bonding time, you know.
maybe I'm really trying to study up on with the casters, and I know you don't want me to go, but I really think that's my calling, is to join the scouts.
Almost almost too coincidentally, as you are saying those things, there is a uh, heavy footstep that you can hear from outside. It's a pretty large building, but it's mostly wooden walls, uh, almost constructed like a large cabin. And you can hear footsteps out in the hall. And this one is particularly heavy. And a man walks in that you have never seen before, that you do not recognize. He'll walk up to the bar, and he will conveniently sit right next to you. Uh, and at this point, he doesn't say anything, but Baron will say, "These thoughts joining the caster. I'm sure they're great people, but we need people like you here. We need people to work in the mines to keep the city running, and you're doing so well. Why do you want to leave us behind?"
I don't want to leave you behind. It's not that, and there's plenty of us here to keep the mines running. I'm one in a hive. There's thousands of us here, but I feel like going to the capital and you know trying to make a new name for us could move us up the ranks of society. We'll never move above middle class if we're just miners. You know, we can't do that on our wage, but if I could somehow become a lieutenant or heck, maybe even a general, that would change our family's life forever.
I'm sure you got your ambition from your father. Never on your mother's side of the family. That's for sure. You're a good boy. You're a good boy. I'll kind of pat you on the shoulder, and he'll start to kind of ease himself up from his chair. I'll see you at home, Brackle. Don't be late. We have an early shift together tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll start to walk towards the door, and he'll exit.
I'm at this point, you know, I'm guessing we're probably around 16 to 18, somewhere in there. This conversation, I have a little bit of known magic, and I'll give him like while he's patting me on the back, I'll kind of return the favor, but try and do like a minor, like a little restoration or like a cure wounds, just to relieve a little bit of his pain of what I can do.
You'll see that his knees and his elbows have a little bit more spring in them.
Without being as obvious as I can,
yeah. Maybe he just like he'll act like he cracks his back or something. He's like, "Oh, that felt better this time."
Yeah, exactly.
And then just like jaunt out of the.
Hey, real quick, I gotta hop off for the night. I gotta get up at 4:30. I'll leave the recording going until about 10:30, so we're not gonna miss anything. Just so you guys know. So.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. See ya.
Night night.
Bye, man. As Jiren exits, As Baron exits, the man sitting next to you, just slowly sipping his beverage, without even looking over at you, he's still kind of facing forward. Say, "You're interested in the casters, are you?"
I'll look to my side. What does this guy look like?
He is a. I will show you. He is a shorter, kind of stout man. Wearing mostly black with a red kerchief around his neck. Big old boots. Most notably, he has a big hook on his right hand.
Okay. So it would be pretty obvious to me that he is not a minor.
He is not a minor. No, sir.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in joining the casters. I will tell you, Theon the Guildmaster is kind of on one today, and if you're not a member of the guild, he may throw you out.
And he'll say he'll kind of be sipping his drink, and he'll say, "Who do you think hooked me up with this?" "Don't worry, lad. I've got some connections."
Good. Yeah. Why do you ask? I've been studying up for the exam to enter into the scouts for 2 years now, and I'm just trying to save up a little bit more to make the travel all the way over to the capital and join.
What would you say if travel was no issue and you could take the test next week?
I think my uncle would flip, but there's no way I could say no.
He'll down the rest of his drink, and he'll kind of hop off the stool because his feet are still dangling. He'll kind of spin it around, hop off, and he'll with his left hand kind of put his hand on your shoulder from behind. He'll say, "I'll be back to get you in 4 days. Put your affairs in order and keep your sword sharp, sir." And he will walk out of the Union Hall. He'll walk out of the room.
Freckle will just turn around towards, facing the bar and shake his head in a little disbelief and call for Theon to bring another pint over. Just kind of say to himself, I don't know if there's enough time to wrap everything up. I better get going after this drink.
And that wraps up the introductions. Well done, everybody. I know that each of you had stuff that we did not talk about beforehand, so that was great. I enjoyed that very much.
TM.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. One last thing. We'll probably end early tonight. One last thing that I want to talk about. We was hoping that Aaron would be here the whole time to talk about this too. We brought it up a little bit last week, but I want to get an actual feeling on this and make kind of a decision. How you feel on
My character.
What?
Is that what you're going to talk about? Like whether we're okay with killing or
Yeah.
dying?
How do you feel about dying?
Yeah, I'm good.
I truly I'm interested to know, and I want you to answer truthfully, because if you feel, I have certain characters that I don't care, and other characters where like, man, I'd be real bummed if this character died ever. I want them to live for 1,000 years. So I get that for sure.
If I have Zoiza in the back, as a backup, then yeah.
Yeah, we can make that work.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with dying.
As long as it's good for the story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay.
Michael Barlos, I am not okay with dying.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want
No.
the Warforged to die.
You're good. You're good. You're good.
You're only saying that because it's gonna be damn near impossible for me to kill you.
You know what?
I'm with Andrew. I mean, if it's a good story beat, absolutely. But I'm trying to think if anybody has Revivify in the party.
Yeah, I think.
Well, that means we have a
that's
chance.
the only one.
The person who's impossible to kill has Revivify.
Yeah. But
Does
here's
he
the
have
thing:
the diamonds though? Does he have
Nope.
the diamonds required?
True.
I'm thinking like obviously I would never make a death meaningless. I say this in the context of it's very possible with what you will be fighting, and this time you don't have a level 20 drow or a storm giant in your battle party to buffer for a bunch of extra damage. So yeah, I would say that it is very possible for that to happen this time around, and I just want to make sure that it is still all in good fun, and I'm not going to just kill your characters to kill your characters. I don't believe in DM versus player gameplay. So if it does fit with the story, and I'll probably like if we get to a point where it's like your character is the one, like they are sacrificing themselves for the party or for the story, I'll talk to you beforehand and figure out a way to do that honorably, so you're not like leave off on the cliffhanger like, oh yeah, and then Vern fell off a cliff. And that's the last we saw of him. Oops.
Barlos, I want to constantly be on the edge of death on this campaign.
Just constantly in stasis, just like
yeah.
D&D edging.
Perpetually at 3 hit points.
Carlos, you sent the clip of the like sketch comedy. Those same guys also have the sketch where like this guy makes a dwarf character. He dies like in the very first mission, and then his cousin just shows up into the sketch.
Yeah.
It keeps cycling through.
Like, oh, my twin brother died. When did that happen? Well, I'm here now.
Listen, if Urzak dies, that just means that Reggie gets to make his way into the multiverse yet again.
I haven't met Reggie.
It's possible. Yeah, it's possible.
Listen, Reggie's already been in Azura.
Reggie, yeah, that's right.
Reggie was he was at the bed and breakfast.
It's true. Reggie was in like a fringe, like a liminal dimension just outside of Azura.
He's canon. He's a plane traveler.
He is in ties. Yeah,
he just gets really fucking drunk, blackout, wakes up in a different universe.
Where am I?
He's
What's
drunk.
going on? God damn it!
If he drinks so far that he blacks out, that's when he travels to another plane.
Is that the key to the way of the drunken master? They actually the height of their magical ability is when they have blacked out.
Yep.
They just unleash a surge of energy and they plane shift. Hilarious.
Like that. But yeah.
Well, I don't have anything else tonight, guys. Thanks for a good session.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Super excited.
So this is a dumb question, but these characters that you guys are all playing, is this further backstory to the characters you had in the last campaign, or are these fresh characters?
Yeah, that's all new information to all of us that we learned tonight.
Okay, but before your previous character or a new character?
Same character.
Aaron has the same character. Brad does. Donovan and Michael, and me. We all have characters before, but all the information, all the backstory stuff we did tonight, we may have known a little bit, but the rest of us didn't know any of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And even some of the backstory, I think, was new to our characters as well.
I didn't know how much I'd ever even told about. I talked about Urzak or not, because I told Michael a lot of stuff because you sat right behind me the whole time. But I don't know how much I ever told anybody else about it.
About your backstory?
I think
Yeah.
very little. I think that the way the campaign was functioning last time, there wasn't much room for a lot of exposition for
Fireside
individual
chats.
characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Man, do I have a prologue for you guys next week? I'm so excited.
Does it start with fire and brimstone?
Does it start with the C?
Part of it starts with characters sitting
starts
around a
with
fire.
T and ends with a T.
Is it a blue person that's going to be talking?
Yes. I had to think about that for a second. Yes, it is.
Don't do that.
It'll be multiple narrators actually. Gonna switch characters back and forth.
Oh, cool.
We'll see how it goes, and if it bombs, then I'll return to form with Robert. Maybe, I don't know.
I'm sure it won't bomb.
I don't know,
and
man.
then after you,
Is he alive? I don't know.
Robert?
K-Fifth.
Oh yeah, what happened at the? I can't remember if they died at the bed and breakfast or not.
Canonically,
Didn't they both?
Canonically, Kavith did not die. He was seen surviving afterwards.
Okay.
Forgrim was still alive at the end of that one shot as well, less one arm.
Okay,
He
that's
lost
what
an
it
arm.
was.
But trolls can regenerate their arms over time, so
Okay.
he'll get it back.
Whatever then. He's fine.
Carlos, I have one gripe about today, is that Urzak didn't get to meet Robert in his prologue.
You gotta pace yourself, man. I feel like Urzak was actually the only character that I purposefully didn't put.
Was Robert alive when
Him as-
Urzak's prologue happened?
Yeah.
Robert's been alive for hundreds of years, right?
when you said
Really?
gate, when you said gate, did you actually mean gate?
Probably not.
Because that's a pretty that's some high level shit, which he would probably have access to.
He's a pretty powerful guy. So even back then, like he's powerful now, but even back then he would have the ability to just slip space jump, just like I'm out. Yeah, I thought about putting him in every single one, and I talked myself out of that because I was like, I don't want to over dilute the waters right away, but I think having Eric run into him, and then like that brings a new dimension to Eric realizing, maybe you don't even realize right away who it is in the clearing.
Cool. It's cool because it's like he's like there at wherever history's happening. Maybe
he also looks completely different too, so it may just take a minute to figure it out. But yeah, I figured tying him to Teth, who I guess at the time wasn't Teth, tying him to another existing character, and then I really thought about putting Zithlo in today for you, Billy. But then I was like, I think it's more important to show the actual like how it just the decimation, why the wilds are the wilds. So you had a separate functionality for your backstory today.
What is this giant scar in the landscape?
Yeah. Infertile for decades.
For Farinth, what is the shadow kind of around Farinth? What does that
Desert.
represent? Okay.
Desert. I don't know what the I don't know why it's so dark up at the top. I don't remember it being that dark when I made it. Also, I thought there was more grass. Maybe maybe I'll remake this map so it's less confusing.
A second
Yeah, that's
time.
I think it's confusing.
supposed
I
to be
think it's
sand. Yeah, after I had so much issue doing it the first time, couldn't upload my hand-drawn map into the software. It wouldn't take the file. I had to
Yeah.
screenshot it.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Donovan with the loophole, the genius workaround that my small brain couldn't figure out.
It's such a dude. When you get in that hate hole of why won't this work? This should work.
Yeah. This like tunnel vision. I'm just like, I'm trying every goddamn file type. Why won't this upload?
All right, gentlemen. I will see you guys next week.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for
It's
playing,
good.
guys.
Have a good week,
Alright.
everybody.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks. You too.